On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will put the somehow controversial Book of Boba Fett series to bed with a deep dive breakdown of its finale. They'll then discuss the possibility of a second season and what may have been for the finale's end credit scene. Once Boba is put to bed, the two basic hosts of the show will pick apart and detail all of the new Kenobi series news, which includes its launch date and some insights into how Darth Vader will be portrayed in it. If time permits, they may even get to some Ahsoka series news and more. But fear not, there's always next week if things get a bit long in the tooth in E200. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey now, yes, I know our mics were not on if you're watching the live stream. Sorry, Nick and I were just talking a little Super Bowl. It really, the past few weeks, because of the Book of Boba Fett and our deeply articulated breakdowns have been going on. We haven't been able to have like our little bullshit session, so we were doing a little bullshit in there about the halftime show at the Super Bowl, which... Tell you what, I'm not going to fight over Gen X and millennials who Dre and them belong to, but as someone born in 1980, in high school in the 90s, mid-90s, and in college by the end of the 90s and early aughts, that halftime show was the tits. Just the whole time, Nick, I was just smiling and laughing like, I can't believe they're doing this at the Super Bowl. It was like, think about all those old crotchety white people with their what boycott they're going to have next for the NFL. So,
oh no, yeah. I mean, I super enjoyed the halftime show. I was over at a friend's house. I had a few other people over watching the game. Like I was passively paying attention to the game, mostly just kind of having a couple drinks, talking to some people. But the halftime show was awesome.
So good.
They gave us a little bit of both. Like for the Gen Xers, it was definitely like the Snoop, Dre, the
original Chronic came out in the early. I was in middle school when the Chronic came out and Snoop's first album came out. But you're right, and then they did. Yeah. The Chronic 2001 or whatever. Yeah, 50
Cent and then Kendrick Lamar and them. They were there for like the millennial crowd. Because I'll say like growing up in having most of my life growing up in the 90s, but being born in the late 80s, like that was kind of, I didn't really listen to NWA until I was in my mid-teens. And that was mostly off of just like, oh yeah, you like rap already. If you listen to this type of music, you should go back and listen to like the OG, like the original, gangster rap group. And it was NWA. So I wouldn't claim NWA and Dre and Snoop as millennial stuff, but they definitely resonated with me as somebody who grew up listening to rap. And even though I don't really listen to it that much anymore, it was a cool show. It was definitely the best.
There was a big social media debate on Gen Xers feeling that millennials co-opted the halftime show. It's like, what the fuck? What's wrong with humanity at this point in time? Like, what's wrong with people? Who gives a shit? It was just good. It was good entertainment. Snoop was smoking a blunt right before he went out on stage. It was vintage. It was just vintage West Coast rap. And 50 Cent. I saw someone was like, he looks more like 75 Cent these days. who gives a shit? I mean, I enjoyed it all. But, you know, we got a packed show today, my friend. We got to put the Book of Boba Fett to bed with our finale breakdown. And then we have a litany. Yes, I know big words that are little, but they sound big. A litany of articles on Kenobi. Because it seemed last week, once the Book of Boba was put to rest, Disney and Lucasfilm were like, all right, it's time on to the next one. And we got posters, release dates, interview articles, more rumor posts coming out from the leakers out there. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and some of it may get pushed to next week, but that is all right. Because as we were lamenting last week, this is our last week of talking current Star Wars, which means it's going back to the grind where Nick and I have to cross our fingers in between Tuesdays that we're going to get some relevant topic that people may be interested in hearing about and then hearing our opinions on it. So if we get some carryover, that is quite all right. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff I'd like to talk about. We both have seen Moonfall at this point, and it is just a fucking wild ass disaster movie. I got through my rewatch of Lord of the Rings, and I would love to explain how my little one took to it. It was like at first she wanted to vomit, boycotted Two Towers, and then the longest one, she somehow sits there for almost the entire 3 hours and 20 minutes. So, but we'll save that for another day. And shit, man. I mean, there's all sorts of news coming out. I think Horizon Zero Dawn's dropping soon. At least the reviews are coming out. Cyberpunk 2077 finally getting its next-gen upgrade. It released today. I haven't played that for a year, waiting for that graphic refresh. But alas, it's time to get into our breakdown of the Book of Boba Fett, the finale, the big one, the S1E7, the one that was supposed to change it all when we saw it. I don't know if it really paid off on that, but, you know, we'll go through it here like we usually do, give our general impressions, and then work through the eggs, the references, the key moments, and any thoughts we have for the Mandoverse in this series moving forward. So, Nick, you know, we briefly talked about it. It's fresh in your mind. Why don't you take the stage? What did you think about In the Name of Honor?
Overall, I was pretty happy with the way that the finale came out. I know that you know, us talking on the cast in previous weeks, we had talked about the potential, like you said, of the Pikes to not be like the true bad guys, and I still think that is a possibility. And you know, once we move on to talk about the future of the Mandoverse and where this is going, I think that there is a definite future without the Pikes, and that there is a bigger force that is going to come into play. Obviously, we know that Thrawn's going to come in at some point, but even outside of that, I think we're going to get into more Crimson Dawn stuff. But the vast majority of it, I thought was pretty good. And, you know, wasn't great. It wasn't the best episode of the series or anything like that.
True.
But it was enjoyable. And it didn't, like, when I looked at the runtime, I was like, okay, 58 minutes, we're going to be in for a long haul. But it didn't feel long. Like, the episode didn't feel like it drug on. Like, it didn't feel like there was any unnecessary bullshit in it that they were just trying to toss in last episode. It was paced well. There were a few things that I had some nitpicks with that I mentioned to Matt in the pre-show, and we'll get to those when we kind of get to our breakdown. But overall, like, I'm not going to fault people who are saying like, oh, it wasn't good or I didn't enjoy it. Like, I could see that. Like, I could see why some people wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as others. But for me, I think it was a good way to wrap up this particular season. Like, of this show, to wrap up this season, I think it did a good job. It addressed a lot of the things that were brought up in the Book of Boba Fett and didn't really reach too far outside into the other Mandoverse properties. Like, it stayed self-contained, which was totally fine for me.
Yeah, so I was explaining to young Nick here. It's odd for me because, you know, I'm the idiot that gets up early and does the breakdowns the day it comes out, and I believe that's where you're going to get my most raw take on something. So if you want my fresh viewing take on the finale, I encourage you, as always, to check out our content on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Or just join our Discord by hitting our bio link on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Which, by the way, the Discord, I know Nick doesn't like to play, but it has become a nice little haven for fans of Star Wars and us SWTSers to just kind of bullshit, share some memes, some other random, like our one of our channels is intelligently named Random Shit. All right, so we talk about some random shit. We got the spoiler stuff going on. And we may even be, I don't, Nick, I didn't even mention this, but I think we're bringing Tones onto the website team eventually when I get some time to set him up an account, because he's always finding articles, and sometimes I can't get the news right away, you can't get the news right away, or neither of us really spend any time doing think pieces, editorials, and we do have a site, we might as well use it. So I was like, why not open it up to the Discord team to see if anyone wants to join in, obviously in a volunteer capacity, because we don't make any money. I actually spend money, Nick actually spends money. But you never know. I mean, if you're people like us and you feel a little creative streak in you want to create some content, that's what I offered up. But back to the finale. So when I first saw it, much like Nick, I was like, yeah, this is serviceable. It ties pretty much everything up, and it, for the most part, leaves a blank slate moving forward for both The Mandalorian and if they choose to do more book, but we have an exclusive on that, so we'll see. We'll talk about that later. But the one overall feeling I was kind of experiencing while watching the finale, and some of this plays into what a lot of Star Wars fans go through, especially those that like to speculate, pontificate, and do all the weird shit that Nick and I do. As I was watching, it's like, it feels kind of anticlimactic. Like I didn't get that twist or that, oh shit, they did it. Oh wow, there's Crimson Dawn. So it was a bit of a struggle. Was that me again, like I did with the prequels, building too high of expectations, or is there room for a little bit of criticism on how the story ultimately played out in the finale, keeping the Pikes as the big bad, bringing Grogu, in my opinion, in way too early. I will admit, regardless of what Nick and I were arguing about last week, I ultimately think it was over if we could use hypocrite when describing Luke, but it turned into something fucking crazy off the rails. If anything, this episode, I think, proved one of my points, and that is Luke Skywalker is a dickhead. But we'll talk more on that later. And I was hoping Nick would have picked this one shot for the top 5. But if I forget, Nick, remind me when we get to the top 5, because I got to talk about this shot from Figure Battles, because it's exactly what I envisioned Luke doing to Grogu, based on the way Grogu showed up. So, like I said, to me, when I first watched it didn't quite have a punch that I was expecting. So is that me building up expectations too much, or was the writing lacking a bit here in the finale? I think that's up to people's opinions.
That there was like a degree for both of us to be like, okay, like things are chugging along this way, and like we really didn't have any reason to believe that the Pikes wouldn't be the big bad. Like we just kind of like we know Crimson Dawn's out there. We had the reports of a potential Crimson Dawn spin-off series happening in the future. And the Crimson Reign comic running at the same time too. Like we had it pretty locked into our mind that like Crimson Dawn is probably going to make an appearance in here.
Remember what I've been saying though all along, ever since Reign came out. It's like, you know what, dude, I'm going to stick to my guns, because when I make a speculation or prediction, I'm not going to waffle. But reading Reign, and we talked about the second issue last week, she's fucking dead. Like Kira's dead in Crimson Reign, so we don't.
Okay, well there you go.
We don't really know what timeline she's dead, but the story's being told in the future to people about Kira, and how Crimson Dawn's main goal when she was running it was not to be this main syndicate running other syndicates. It was to take down the Rule of Two. It was to take down Sidious and Vader. So I hung on to the Crimson Dawn prediction because of that. But ultimately, narrative-wise, based on what they're doing in Reign, it does make sense that they were not revealed. She wasn't in the syndicate business, at least after events of Empire Strikes Back leading into Return of the Jedi. She was into the let's manipulate the fuck out of all the other syndicates for our benefit, and let's have moles and plants all across the galaxy. so I can do some crazy stuff, but it was never, I'm going to run the syndicates. I'm the queen of the underworld. So ultimately, them coming into Book of Boba Fett as these big, bad crime syndicate people doesn't really make a lot of sense. It looks like I lost Nick for a second. Hold on here. Let me bring him back in. Yep. 1 second. Nicky buddy.
First time that's happened in a few weeks. We're back.
Did you have a Windows update? did we have some Windows update lately?
It was the Skype. Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, there was a Windows update yesterday. So
okay,
but yeah, it was the Skype crash, like we had.
You've had a few shows where the little mouse in your computer decided to not take a break, but today it was like, you know what, fuck running in this wheel. I need a piece of cheese. I don't even know what the hell I was talking about when you broke out. The Kira, Chris, and Rain stuff. When you really break it out, and I do think I'm someone that's good at kind of putting pieces together when I get little plot hints here or there, either through trailers or comic books. The whole Crimson Dawn prediction didn't ultimately make sense for the Book of Boba Fett. She didn't care about the crime world. She didn't. She knew she had to take out the Sith. That was her focus. And as I said, in Reign, we were being told her story in the future, and she's dead. And she's dead because of her mission to take on the Sith.
So likely she died before this timeline even.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point in time.
Okay.
So whatever, like I said, some of the things I propped up didn't pay off. Maybe that led to some of my feelings of, this is kind of anticlimactic. But overall, it was serviceable for the series. I think it, I don't want to necessarily say it stuck the landing for Boba Fett, but it did ultimately resolve his arc from mute bounty hunter to benevolent crime lord who realized, you know what, this sucks. I want to go back to doing my own thing. That was kind of weird. It's like, all right, well then why did we go through all this practice if you realize in the end that you don't like people worshiping you?
It's going to be interesting to see how they move forward with that, but I do have some speculation.
All right.
Around a possible reworking of Rangers of the New Republic, given the ending of the show.
All right. Well, let's save those for like our final thoughts. So, hey, in the end, Star Wars Time Show, it sounded like we were okay with it, as we were with the whole series. And I don't want this episode to get into the whole fan on fan shit that's been going on, because it's, as Nick kind of feared when we thought that we'd be getting all these 2022 Star Wars shows kind of backed up and lined together. If you do have something like the Book of Boba Fett, which to me has been the most divisive Star Wars property since The Last Jedi, it does kind of spoil the fandom a bit. It muddies up the waters. It doesn't make being a fan as fun as it used to be during the Mandalorian seasons. And it does kind of grate on you. But in the end, we don't have to focus on the fucking negative assholes. And I also don't want this to turn into, because I've seen a lot of this. Oh, Nick, I see more people being critical of Boba Fett than there are people being critical of Boba Fett. And it's like, all right, here's the one thing I want to say on this. There are different ways to be critical of Star Wars. There are thoughtful ways where you actually have points that make sense to a lot of people. And then there's the troll entitlement shit. So I kind of want to draw a line in the sand, at least for me. It's the people that get the entitled take, and then their criticism comes from a point of entitlement. That's the shit that I think's nonsense, and trolling, and just trying to clout chase something. If you critique it with some actual fodder behind it, some material behind it, then that's just natural discourse. That's opinions. Not everyone is always going to like everything the same way. So I don't know. I don't want to become the show where you think we're just railing on people because you hated the Book of Boba Fett. Now, if you hate the Book of Boba Fett from an entitled standpoint, then we probably don't like you. But if you have good points, you're like, listen, this didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. Great. That's good discourse. It's the shit where people like flame through all of Star Wars and all of Disney because their dude wasn't a rock star, cold-blooded murderer. It's like, everything's ruined. It's like, go fuck, fuck yourself.
I think
dude.
that like a lot of where this discourse comes from is because over the years, I mean, over the history of Star Wars as a property, I mean, we've never had this much content, period. Never.
Oh, we're spoiled, and we're acting like spoiled motherfuckers, too. There's no doubt about it.
There's no little bitches. But, you know, when you only get, you know, a movie every 3 years, like it was in the OT era or in the prequel trilogy era, and that was all you got. Like there was a level of appreciation for the content, regardless of your initial thoughts. You know, I think that in the, you know, the prequel trilogy had a lot of, you know, love and a lot of hate at the time, but there are still people now who are like, episode 3 is my favorite. Like I went to the grocery store the other day. I was wearing a Star Wars shirt after one of the episodes we recorded. I walked up to the meat counter and guy's like, "Oh, I like your shirt." And it was my ESB 40th. And I was like, "Thanks, man. Yeah, ESB 40th, love it." And he's like, "What's your favorite movie?" So I said my favorite's probably still Empire. You know, I've always had that as probably my number one. And he said that his favorite was episode 3.
And you responded like this, "Wrong!"
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
"I'm not buying your meat, motherfucker." And you just walk away.
But it wasn't even that. So I was like, episode 3, I was like, I've heard people say it before, and like I can understand people's perspective, but it's what he followed up with, and he's like, "Hey, at least your favorite isn't one of the sequels."
Yeah, so there you go.
There you go. It's like, and like that's the problem. It's like, why does it matter what my favorite is?
Right.
It's like if I'm a 14-year-old kid and I saw TFA for the first time and that was like my first exposure to Star Wars, if that's that kid's favorite movie, like why do I care? Or why do I care if somebody who's 55 years old is that's their favorite movie?
That's a perfect example of the entitled asshole opinion. Like it's like, oh, you like the sequels, you must be brain dead or blind or stupid. It's just that, fuck off. Like that's where the toxicity comes from. It's not in being critical of Star Wars. I'm critical of Star Wars every day. All right. I mean, just listen to some of the old shows. I mean, all I used to do is fucking bitch and moan about the prequels. It gets old. All right. But I even when I bitch and moan about the prequels, I would have my points. I have a whole fucking dissertation out on YouTube on why I think The Phantom Menace is the best prequel and why Revenge of the Sith is the worst. All right, I put a lot of time and labor into my thoughts. I don't just do it to troll motherfuckers like, you know, Mike Zero and those other channels that have bigger followings than us because they troll people. And the last point I want to make on Star Wars and fans and how opinions are shared and expectations, I think at this point it's a clear generational thing. And let me explain it a bit, Nick. People like me, born in the 70s and 80s, you got to think, in 83, that was it for us. We had to wait over 10 years just to see the original trilogy again with a few new scenes added to it. There was no new TV shows. I mean, yeah, Battle Endor, all that, who cares? Nothing. Then you have the prequel generation. Think about their Star Wars experience. They get movie, Clone Wars movie, Clone Wars, 6 seasons of it, ultimately 7, Star Wars Rebels. So that generation that grew up with the prequels, they've never really had downtime. They've never had to sit there and wonder, like, am I ever going to see some new fucking Star Wars again? Like, people like me, like, decades passed. Decades. Even years passed after the special editions for the prequels. So I think people in my generation are, you know, there's definitely, you got your curmudgeons out there. But I'm at least speaking for myself, I think I'm overall more appreciative of just this cadence of Star Wars content we're getting now. And that's why I don't necessarily sit down to take it in and hate watch it like some people do. So that's it. Let's get back to the breakdown. But I do think it is, you know, the prequelers and the sequelers. It's a whole different landscape for you all than what us old fogies had to deal with. All right, dude. So into some of the Easter eggs and references, and there were some decent ones in this episode. There were some very obvious ones. I think I have our gallery system figured out at this point. It's all fucked up. Whatever, technical. you people know it, especially if you run WordPress sites. Sometimes when you get a major iteration release, it can fuck all sorts of things up. But anyways, the gallery is at least working for this breakdown, unlike last week. So we're starting with eggs and references, and right from the get-go, he may not have been in it, but we did get to see Red 5 in all its glory. And it was even, I don't think we necessarily got a nice close-up shot in Mando season 2, right, Nick? It just kind of came in, we saw it on the camera, and we're like, oh, yeah, that could be Red 5. Well, here we go. We get Red 5 in all its glory. Just sadly, it did not have a pilot, but more on that later. When Cad and Boba kind of meet for the first time again, and they're talking there, we get a callback to a line that Boba dropped to Casca Reeves, or maybe Casca to Boba in The Mandalorian Season 2, when Cad essentially says to Boba, after Boba accuses him of being a killer, he's like, oh, that's a quackta. It's something about the quackta calling the stiffling slimy, which is Favreau's play on, a pot calling a kettle black.
Yeah.
Our homeboy, who ended up having one of the biggest roles in the Book of Boba Fett, believe it or not, the Major Domo. But we got a little insights into his upbringing, Nick, when he gave us a Coruscant mention, where he attended a finishing school. And that's how we learned that he is supposedly a master negotiator. So that was, you always like the Coruscant drops. It's always fun seeing repurposed ships and speeders throughout Star Wars. And in this episode, the Freetowners rolled up in a V-35 speeder, which is the same model you quickly see in A New Hope as, the gang is approaching Chalums. If you got the Mos Eisley Cantino Lego set from a few years back, it was one of the prominent vehicles. The Freetowners, they just gave it a more of a, kind of urban or desert camo color scheme. All right, moving right along with eggs and references. These bad boys right here, Nick, the Scorpionic droids, as we learned from Peli, these were actually in-universe designed by the same outfit that made the droidicas.
You could tell that pretty easily.
What's even cooler is these come from concept art for Attack of the Clones. So I don't know if this is Doug Chang, but at one point in time, this exact model was mocked up for Attack of the Clones. It just didn't make the cut. They stuck with droidicas and some of the other massive vehicles we saw in the Battle of Geonosis. But you always gotta like when, who knows? I would assume this is probably Dave flipping through the archives, or like I said, Doug, someone from the art department, saying, "Hey, you know what? We never used this model. This would probably be pretty freaking cool."
Yeah.
No, we never learned the Major Domo's actual name. We did it. I think he's played by a gentleman named David Pasquini or Pasquata or something like that, but we never learned the character's name. And trust me, I look at this shit because I'm goofy like that. All right, so as predicted, this wasn't this was pretty telegraphed, I think, especially if you've been watching the Clone Wars, know about the deleted scenes, know about Cad Bane's resurgence in Bad Batch, and you listen to this stupid show, we were going to get the duel finally in live action, and we got it. And we see Fett wins by melee, which was a nice callback to his training with the Warrior. And if you were paying attention, he used the exact move that she used on him initially to show him that he's not such a badass. The old hook your leg and stab you in the old stomach move. But the cool part of this, and this is the shit I get off on, not so much, hey, look, what's his name? Scad did a spin and it was stupid. Let me make memes about it nonstop. I was like, yo, check this shit out. They actually included the metal plate from the Bad Batch. I think, Nick, we were kind of wondering, will we see the plate? Will the hat come off?
Yeah.
They had to pay off on it. So, but yeah, we get it in live action. And trust me, I got many more words to say on the duel. Let's just wait for the key moments. We're just doing the fun stuff right now. Right here, when the Rancor climbs that tower and reaches out, as I said in
King
my
Kong,
breakdown.
baby.
Yeah, I mean that's just a steady King Kong homage. And in my breakdowns, like all Din was missing was a blonde wig and a white dress, and they fully could have recreated the Empire Strikes or the Empire Strikes Back.
Empire State.
Yeah, the Empire State Building moment from King Kong. So that's always fun stuff there. And then last but not least, and I think someone was I don't know if this was Nick last week saying it was a missed moment to leave the shifter knob with Grogu, but hey, we're collectors, and if you're a collector, you're typically sentimental by default. I think that's where a lot of my collecting obsession comes from. It's kind of my attachment to the series. In fact, Nick, I fell off the fucking Black Series wagon last week. Like, you know, I've been I'm not going to get any Black Series this year. Yeah. Well, once Book of Boba Fett ended and this one popular wave went up for pre-order, I was like, fuck it. I need them all. So it was like, by Friday, I think I had $300 in Black Series pre-orders plunked down. But after seeing this wonky, weak-ass Chrysanthemum Black Series yesterday, I think I'm going to cancel some just in a boycott of Hasbro just making ridiculous decisions left or right. But back to our egg here, you know, he pulls out the shifter knob. That Din was keeping that because that was his tie to his buddy. That you know, that is like when you look at your figure, or if you wear a chain, or if you have little kids and they've given you something. That was kind of his little keepsake, but it was nice to get it back, and the fact that Din was like, hey, this will distract you while I go fly into a Rancor's mouth. Yeah. Is why he busted it out. You know, parents, we all have our little gimmicks and tricks to try to make sure kids aren't going to get in trouble if we can't keep eyes laser focused. All right. So getting into the key moments breakdown. Now, you know, some of this stuff may have been obvious, but I like getting confirmations. And up first, as we have all these cowards hunkered down in Mos Eisley in the Pike bunker, it's finally confirmed that the Pikes were the ones to kill Boba's Tusken tribe. I mean, they just come out and say it. They framed the Striders, so Boba, kind of a dick move, wiping them all out. It was still awesome to see. But the Pikes were the ones that you know, they set him up from the get-go. So I guess they were master manipulators after all. All right, this next one I got some words on. Okay?
Okay.
First and foremost, I'm not saying Grogu choosing the shirt was a surprise or a shock. I think we all kind of felt he was going this way. What was surprising to me was how quickly Grogu was shown or introduced into this episode. I think overall it was too soon. I would have preferred their reunion to have been saved either for the end, where Grogu shows up and does one of his multiple Force saves, or even better, maybe dangling it over into Mando Season 3. But the point I want to make, and it goes back to what I was saying about Master Luke last week, he's a cold-hearted motherfucker. I mean, he literally dumped the dude in his X-Wing, programmed his droid some coordinates, and said, see you later, pal. Good luck with life. Now, obviously, it could have been a deeper conversation than that. We don't know because it was done off screen. We don't know if they had the same deal Luke had with Yoda. Like, listen, man, I got to do this. I'm sensing something bad. I'll come back. I promise I'll come back. Maybe we got that off screen, but we didn't. We didn't see it, so we don't know. So what I envision is Luke literally going like, all right, you picked a shirt. Fuck you. Get out of my temple. R2! Pop open the canopy, program coordinates from Mos Eisley, and drop this little cunt off. He pissed me off.
Fuck out of
exactly.
Here.
Like you can see him like kicking him out of that fucking that little stone hut. Like, beat it, pal. Yeah. Attachments suck.
I do think that there's likely going to be a follow up on that.
I hope so.
Mando S3. I mean, like, likely is not even like strong enough. There will definitely be a follow up on that in Mando S3, almost for sure. But yeah, I mean, it like when I saw the X-Wing pull up, I was like, okay, like, is Luke just dropping him off like a kid at school? Like, all right, get on out of here.
I was fully expecting them both because, you know, I think Trevor kind of had this idea. I was like, what if Luke was like, you know what, fuck it, let's go get this on, and they show up and party. So you are right. You know exactly who it is as soon as those 4 exhaust lights come in the frame, and you're like, oh shit. And you had to love the setup. You know, Peli continues to be one of the greatest new Star Wars character, where she's like, oh shit, the New Republic's coming. She's like, droids. She's like, hide this, do this. Oh my God. And she walks up like, oh, sorry, officer, we're good. We're going to get our paperwork. And I mean, that was fantastic. And then you learn
it was
Luke steady abandoned him. And you know, it kind of played into what I was saying last week. Luke is kind of a dickhead. He's a dickhead at this point in time. He's pretty cold-hearted. But before we move on, I just... because it was not picked for the top 5, which is completely fine. I've got to show this picture. Nick, I'll send it to you in Slack so you can get it quickly. But this picture from @FigureBattles on Instagram is exactly how I envisioned Luke loading up Grogu into the X-Wing after Grogu in Luke's mind made the wrong choice. And it's... if you're listening, I'll try to set it up for you. So you got Luke, he's up on the ladder, the canopy's open on Red 5, and he's got his blue backpack, and he's like dumping it out like garbage, and you see Grogu falling out head first into the cockpit of the X-Wing. It just, I don't know, Nick, it's perfect. Here, let me get it to you if it hasn't showed up on... there you go. It should be in general, our main channel in Slack.
Okay. Yes.
Right? Is that not how you know, knowing how Grogu shows up? To me, that's exactly how Luke was like, all right, fuck you, get the hell out of here. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
You're not my first student after all. Hopefully my sister will have some offspring so I can fuck them up. But I don't know. I absolutely love this picture because that's how I felt. It was I feel like Luke was being very callous and cold-shouldered to Grogu after he made the choice he made.
Definitely so. I may have picked this because I don't watch the episode before.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you probably had you had no backstory to it.
Yeah. So like I was like, okay, I probably just scrolled past it like, oh, it's pretty funny. But yeah, like now seeing the episode. And it almost looks like Luke kind of has like a scowl on his face.
Yeah, it's like,
it's like, what?
Oh, you want the best car, you little shit? And just dumps him out. He's like, R2, get him out of here. Get him out of my face. Something like that. So, I don't know. I wasn't surprised by Grogu's choice. I was surprised by how quickly he was reintroduced back into this episode and then ultimately the reunion. In the reunion, whatever, it was great. As a father, it's hard not to get all sappy when you see them on the rickshaw and the little guy like force jumps into his arms. I mean, come on, that's beautiful shit. But I think narratively, it would have worked better if it was either held over our heads for a season, or that was the stinger scene, or learning Grogu's decision was the stinger. But hey, whatever. Here we are. Grogu and Mando are back. That's out of the way. Mando season 3 can start pretty much fresh. The Grogu shit's resolved, so he can go right into the reclaiming himself as a Mandalorian, which I think is going to make up the bulk of season 3. All right, so continuing on with key moments here. I lost my notes for a second. All right, Luke sending him away. I kind of dug the scene, the dialogue between Din and Boba. And it kind of shows you, in my mind, how anti-Mandalorian creed Boba Fett is. I mean, he made it clear in The Mandalorian. He made it even more clear when these two were talking. But it does show you just like how loyal Din Djarin is to this fucking creed. Like even being excommunicated, exiled, he's still all about it. Because Boba's like, hey man, if I were you, I wouldn't blame you if you just fucking left us here to die, because I got you roped up in a pretty much lose-lose situation. My bad. This really has, you're not even taking money. You can just beat it if you want to. And Din's like, no, motherfucker, listen. It goes against the creed. I'm loyal to the end. Loyalty and solidarity. And you had to love how Boba's response is like, yeah, that stuff's a bunch of bantha shit. It's like,
yeah. I mean, it's like anybody who's kind of raised in a religion, and I don't know if you went through this or if you were raised Catholic and everything like that, but for a while even after you can make your own decisions and you're outside of the, the structure of growing up in a household that, goes to church every weekend and you go to Catholic school and stuff like that, you still find yourself like, kind of oddly loyal to it.
100%.
But then, for some people, they continue. Some people, their whole lives, they stay dedicated to their religion and whatnot. Like other people like me haven't. I mean, like you either kind of grow into it or you grow out of it. And it seems like, while Mando's not necessarily growing into it more, it's just that it's the only thing that he's ever known. And we also have to keep in mind, too, that the amount of time that we've seen and known Mando may feel like a long time, but realistically, this is probably less than a year of his life. Like,
yeah, he was being brainwashed by Death Watch since the Clone Wars.
Yeah, since he was a small child.
You're looking at maybe 17 years of or more, in fact. Because, if we're talking, we see him get rescued in the middle of the Clone Wars. So we know we have at least 18 years until A New Hope. And then, 7 years after Return of the Jedi is when we meet Din for the first time. So I think it's safe to say he spent 20 plus years being indoctrinated, and
exactly.
And when you live in a cult like that, it's even more severe than being a Catholic like Nick and I were. Like, you live it, breathe it. Your neighbors live it and breathe it. You can't get away from it.
And then you also have to remember, like, they probably tell him, like, we saved your life. It's not like, a religion or even like a regular cult where it's like you join, like most of the time you join a cult, willingly. You don't know it's a cult. It's like, you're like, oh, this seems like fun, whatever. Like, they pulled this kid from the jaws of death. And like from that moment on, you literally own their entire life. Like, they will do whatever you tell them to do, and whatever you say to them is gospel and everything like that. So his dedication to it is no surprise given the circumstances of which he found himself in Death Watch and how long he was there without contact with really like the outside world to a certain degree. Like,
they were living in after the Purge and Night of 1,000 Tears, dude. They were essentially living in sewers and shit with this with fanatics. That's all you can say. If anything, I think this scene in my mind still just it confirms that Boba Fett has zero intentions to ever rule anything at this point, let alone Mandalore. Like, dude doesn't even want to rule fucking Mos Espa. So I have a hard time believing that he's going to have a goal of getting the Darksaber and becoming the ruler of Mandalore. That's not to say he won't heed Din's call, the call we have heard about to, hey, I need help, Mandalorians, let's do it. Even though Boba doesn't consider himself one, I think at this point, especially with what Din did for Boba, they're boys for life, regardless if Din wants to go further down the Mandalorian Creed rabbit hole or not. They're boys. They've got each other's backs. They will heed each other's calls. But the way this episode ended, the comments we've heard from Boba in this season and in the past in Mandalorian, dude has absolutely zero aspirations to have the Darksaber and rule Mandalorians. That's just it's not him. Like it's not even in his makeup. All right, but hey, good moments here, and then it got even better because we got to see the two kind of do their thing, and I think this is what a lot of people that didn't enjoy the Book of Boba Fett thought it was a waste of time, thought it ruined the character. I think this is what they wanted to see for 7 episodes straight. Fett in his jetpack, pew-pewing away, doing his, Michael Jackson Thriller knee kick, missile launches, back-to-back fighting. I thought it looked great. It's been picked apart at this point in time by the internet, but it once again showed us what skilled warriors in Beskar armor can do. Because, these guys essentially took on a battalion of pikes by themselves for a good few minutes. They were popping people left and right. I love the one shot where they both shoot the guy off the roof and then they continue to shoot his falling body like 1,000 times as he comes down. I did think we got some decent camera shots from Rodriguez in these. There were also some weird camera shots during Boba and Din kind of kicking ass. But, this one in particular I kind of dug, where you see Boba behind Din. Din's reaching out, launching the whistling birds. It was just fun. This it was a kick-ass action scene with two kick-ass characters, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that, as you can see by the 500 screenshots I took. If you are on the live stream, if you're not on the live stream, you're listening on the radio, you can always pull up these posts and check out some of the screens if you like imagery as you listen. Hopefully, we paint a clear enough picture.
A word picture.
There you go.
For you.
All right, I mentioned this earlier. I mean, the Grogu and Mando hug, it hits me. I think it's a parent thing. I don't know if it hits Nick as hard as it hits me. I don't know if maybe he associates it with his pets, but those are moments. And I think our good friend Lima 4 also is like, yeah, that was just like just the moment seeing Grogu and they look at each other and like, oh my goodness, you're here, you're back, and Grogu jumps into his arms, and I don't know, it was a beautiful thing. So it was, in my mind, too early of a reunion. It would have been better like during one of the 5,000 saves that Grogu has in this episode. Probably even better if it was saved for season 3 or the end credits. But we got it in the moment. For the most part, hit pretty well with me, at least in my Star Wars heart. I mean, look at his little face when he looked back at him and Din saw that he had the shirt on. He's like, "Oh, you got the shirt." It's like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm sappy in my old age. I'm a sappy man.
It was a good.
Okay, this is one that probably would have hit 10,000 times harder than it did if we didn't all know about it from leaks and the clear foreshadowing in the series itself. But it was pretty radical seeing Boba mount up and, you know, curiously destroy the town more than the Scorponeks were. And that's the whole reason. Yeah. That's the whole reason he went to go get the Rancor. He's like, no, they're going to destroy the city.
Destroy the whole city. It's like, dude, you brought this thing out and it's already climbing and destroying buildings and like, It was fun. It's like, you know, it's like I said, I mean, this is some stuff that Nick, some fans like, they'll crucify Disney over, like, oh my God, it's so fucking stupid. You're making it whatever. It is silly. You call it lazy writing, whatever. It still looked fucking cool. In fact, I think I got one of the best screenshots of the battle. If you're on the live stream now, of, you know, it's over Boba's shoulder where he's blasting down the Rancor screaming at one of the Scorponeks. Yeah.
But it was fun.
I can see one of our keen toy photographers making something that looks like this.
Oh, there's been a lot. They've been doing Boba on Rancor since the Rancor episode. That's what I mean. Yes. I mean, even if you didn't know about the leak, Nick, the foreshadowing was almost too obvious in the show itself. Like, I want to ride a Rancor. Okay, well, this is probably happening, and him petting the Bantha and having that relationship. But I think the Rancor looked great. They definitely didn't spare any expense on that, and the way he tore up those Scorponeks, and then obviously the King Kong moment. I see a lot of people like, well, why the hell were Boba's people shooting at him? I don't know. I mean, it's fucking Star Wars. It's science fiction. A lot of times shit doesn't make sense, but it is like, why are you guys shooting a big ass thing? I mean, it's only going to make it angrier. You just saw it getting shot by walking tanks and it didn't phase them. Yeah. What do you think your little blasters are going to do?
You could see that at some point, like they were shooting it to clearly like divert its attention from something else. Yeah. Like Mando walks up behind and shoots it a bunch in the back, so it turns and focuses on him and not everybody else. I mean, there is also like, with shields like this, and I don't know, maybe this was the justification, is like eventually like it can only take so much damage. So like even like these little, what looks like, pea shooters hitting it, looks like it's not doing anything to us, but like eventually over time it will wear the shield down to the point to where it breaks like it eventually did with the Rancor, after the Rancor put a fucking ton of damage into it, and then Din kind of whacking at the back of it with his
heavy ass dark saber.
Like, yeah, with his dark saber that weighs 50,000 pounds apparently. Like,
you saw him, Nick. He was still struggling to like whip that thing over his head. I mean, you got to give the. I guess we learned. Well, that probably would have been Latif since it was an action scene. But yeah, I mean, they definitely sell that Din still does not have a clear mind to kind of come in tune with the energy coming out of the dark saber. But
Yeah, maybe Moff Gideon should have kept it. At least he could swing it right.
Hey, that guy had he had a clear conscience of anything. Like he had his vision. He was in line. He knew how to channel all of his energy through that thing. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So any more words on the Rancor and the fight? And
not till we get to the end. I enjoyed the Rancor fight. I don't know, like if people were legitimately upset by that because like it's destroying the town anyway. It's like, bro, I mean, come on. Like
I think it was the point. Why is the mod squad and the Freetowners shooting at the Rancor after it took down the Scorpinex? Because they were just kind of pissing it off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but.
Hey,
it's probably because they're like, this thing is destroying our town. Nobody's on the back of it.
Right.
And it just chunked a whole fucking speeder at us.
Right.
So,
in the end, you know why they did it? So Din could have one of his bunker boy moments and try to be a hero and then end up looking like a dope because he flies up, gets caught, and you literally see the Rancor chewing on his head. Like that is vintage Din bullet sponge extraordinaire. You gotta love the guy. All right, the duel. Okay,
the duel.
Boba kills Cad, or so we think. I'll talk more on that in a bit. Cad Bane's not dead. Trust me.
I'm on the same.
Okay,
page.
Yeah. I mean, he's not dead, but overall, I dug the duel. I really did. I liked their kind of the shit talking. Cad throwing his past at him, his dad at him, like "fuck you, Boba. It's in your blood to be a cold-blooded killer. Why are you trying to do this?" He gets him. He is still the faster gun, which I love to see. Gets him on the ground, de-helmets him, and pretty much says like, "See, motherfucker, you always care about yourself." Cad was bringing that old school, some of the same shit Fennec was feeding them all season long. I mean, even the beginning of this episode, she's like, "What? You're not gonna do this? You're gonna let them get away?" I mean, she still wanted, blood and big time retaliation, but I love their dialogue, the duel itself, Cad getting the first shot, de-helmeting him, and then just when you think it's going to go down, Boba, in response to Cad's taunting about the Tuskens and getting soft and family, relies on what he learned with his family, rolls out, does the exact move that the warrior did on him in season or episode 1 or episode 2.
Episode 2, I think.
Trips him up, gets him on his back, and unlike the warrior, he actually pierces the chest.
Yeah.
And it appears that Cad Bane is toast. You got Boba standing over him. He finally kind of tapped into that, yeah, I'm a badass type of guy. I killed again. Nick, I don't know if you can see the stream, but if you look at this screenshot, it looks like Tem bent up the prop gaffy, and they forgot to correct it because the tip is fully bent as he's standing over Cad's body. I don't know if they're saying Cad's like a Terminator and it hit and it bent over, but here's what we want to talk about. So, a lot of people were bitching and moaning like, you bring back Cad Bane and then you kill him an episode later. What the fuck? Disney sucks. Stupid shit. Robert Rodriguez should die, But if you pay attention, and I tried to point this out in our Discord and in my breakdown that not many people watch, they make such a point to hover over his supposed corpse that it's almost impossible to miss that he's got this sensor on his chest that started beating.
It's beeping.
Yeah, as soon as he got tagged. So you have to think this is either like a life alert sensor, the help, I fallen, can't get up thing, and he's calling to, one would think, Todo or whatever bot he's beating around these days, or it's some built-in life support right into his vest. So and look where the stab wound is. Not that I know Duros
physiology
exactly, but it's right in the middle of his chest. Like it's you wouldn't think by a traditional heart in a humanoid character. It's not there. It's not a gut wound. I mean, to me, it's very survivable, especially when you have a system built in to either alert someone to assist you or possibly to shoot out. Who knows? Maybe the suit's oozing back into his vest as we were watching it happen.
Yeah.
But this dude is not dead.
Yeah, I agree with that. In totality. I mean, the fight itself, I thought that the duel was awesome in general. I will say that Bane got a little Bond villainy towards the end, where it's like, okay,
he's talking too much, right?
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, exactly. Like he's down. Yeah, he's kicked his helmet off. Okay, like now you're giving a full monologue. Obviously,
yeah, it happens, right? I mean, it happens to everyone.
I mean, that happens all the time. But that was the first thing I thought. I was like a little Bond villainy, but I think that it, like between these two characters, it's totally appropriate, and I thought it was pretty fun. I totally agree that he's not dead. And one thing that we'll talk about a little bit later was my suspicion as well towards the end.
Okay.
But overall, the duel was a fun fight.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying, but I mean, it happens in all movies. You could argue. Exactly. I mean, even Darth Vader gets Bond villainy in Return of the Jedi. Like, your sister. And he's like giving Luke more reason to tap into the dark side, to the point where like Luke's like, you know what, fuck you. If you're gonna keep talking, whack, whack, and cuts his arm off, and Vader's like, oh shit, I should have kept my mouth shut. I didn't know that would set my son off so bad. Trevor's saying in the chat, and he's not quoting this as his own, but someone's saying the Duro's heart is in their leg. I don't know. Like I'm a dork. I'm a Star Wars nerd. I'm not that deep into the science of the alien species. But either way, just the way it was shot was kind of a giveaway that something is not final about this death. This isn't the end of Cad Bane in live action, and I would love Sita Toto come in. I was that would have been a great stinger, but we'll talk about the stinger. So, but yeah, it was good, and I think a lot. Nick, the reason we got so much dialogue was to kind of show like, hey, Boba was like this guy. Boba came from this guy's ilk. Boba worked with this guy, learned from this guy, and while Boba was able to change, Cad never was, and in the end, it looks like it may have cost Cad his life, probably not, but Cad's philosophy of only worry about yourself ended up biting him in the end, where Boba's change of heart, respect, loyalty, solidarity, family makes him stronger. He learned a few things, and in the end won a duel with some melee skills. So it was kind of a cool take on the duel that was supposed to play out in animation, which we all believe it did, hence Cad's helmet cap, but now we actually got to see it play out in the canon on screen. So I'll take it for what it was.
Yeah.
All right.
So this next part I kind of have a little nitpick with, but Matt,
yeah, I'll set it up. So on the stream, we're now at the Grogu and the Rancor, which this would have been Grogu's second big save of Din in the span of maybe 5 to 8 minutes. Yeah. So it kind of, the Grogu doing his thing loses some of the wow factor, if not all of it, by doing it this way. And I think Nick said that this would have been probably a much bigger surprise moment if this is when Grogu showed up to have the big save here with the Rancor and Din.
Yeah. If this was when Grogu showed up, then I'm all for like them, using him as like the catch savior. Mando's gonna be okay because Grogu showed up at this moment, pulled him out of the fire. But we, like Matt said, we had already had kind of a Grogu Force save with the Scorpion X droid earlier when he pulls the piece off of it, and then Mando can take it down. And then in a narrative sense, this is Boba Fett's moment. Like you can't convince me that this moment is worse if Boba Fett is the one that stops this Rancor, because it ties back, and this should have occurred to Robert Rodriguez or whoever was writing, like right at the front. Like John Favreau should have fucking known that this is Boba Fett's moment. You had the entire character cameo of Danny Trejo coming in, bringing him the Rancor and saying like, these are not beasts. These are not, creatures with no, feelings or anything like that. These are animals that love, that have feelings, that can grow attachments to the people who take care of them.
They bond.
Who can have loyalty.
They bond to the first person they see, which was Boba.
So like when this moment to me with Grogu and the Rancor was throwaway, because I was like, this shouldn't have happened. This was the only moment in this episode where I was like, man, they really dropped the ball. Because if you see Boba Fett finishes his battle with Cat, it's over. We know it's over. He jetpacks away. Everything is going on here. Not only is it his Rancor that's destroying his town now,
true,
but he is the one that is supposed to be able to communicate, tame. Like, he is the one who is emotionally attached to this Rancor. If he comes down, stands in front of the Rancor and quells it on his own, based off of the bond that they've built over time. I mean, that's the moment that pays off on everything that Danny Trejo's character was talking about. Like, that's not like him riding it isn't the moment, because you can fucking sling a chain over a Rancor and ride it, whatever. Like,
I mean, even Din got on the back for a little bit until he picked him off and ate him.
Yeah, but like if Boba would have been there to show that he put in the time, put in the work, built the bond with this creature, and show his people, the people of Mos Espa, that like, I am your protector.
I got
and like this beast that seemingly would destroy everything, I am in touch with. That would have been it. But this whole moment with Grogu was just like literally to pay off with just like a cute CG shot of him laying next to it was totally not worth sacrificing that moment with Boba.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a very good point, and one that I didn't even see. So, you know, Nick's typically the more intelligent one on the show, anyways. But I wasn't even kind of lining up. Oh, this should have been Boba. I was just getting into, okay, I mean, how many times are we going to wheel out the little Force protector to save the day in the span of a single episode? Let alone we've now seen this at least 3 or 4 times over the Mandoverse, what we have so far. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Boba Fett quelling the Rancor, that would have been a full circle moment on the Trejo and getting the Rancor, plus also reinforcing the fact that, you know, this guy is kick-ass, he is powerful, but he is benevolent, and he is here to help out and protect. Yeah.
It's just like the Grogu save doesn't mean anything. Like, there's no deeper meaning behind it. And it's just like the closest you could say is like, well, it's another Mudhorn moment. Like, it's similar to the Mudhorn moment, but like we literally just had it with the Scorpion X droid. Right. So,
and we get it. We understand at this point that Grogu's Force potential is strong. All right, we get it. And the fact that they made him a fucking Yoda, I think that makes it very obvious that these things, not that we know anything about them, but they're as close to being born as the Force as it gets if you're not named Anakin Skywalker. So yeah, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, and I think Nick is 100% correct. So let's sign him up to do some screenwriting for the next season if we get one.
Johnny, give me a call. Johnny Fast, you got my number.
Yeah, because this was the moment that Nick was talking about. Just the money shot of Grogu passed out as Din wakes up. Yep, you are correct. That's why it was done. All right, so and this is another thing. Kingdom Weird is bringing this up, and I kind of agree with him too. But it's a very odd scene. They just do a hard like black screen cut, and it goes to the bunker, and you start to see all the orchestrators of the war get picked off. I mean, in the end, Mokshai Yz was one of the main conspirators. I mean, we all thought he was some jerk off, but no, he was the one that was directly working with the Pikes and orchestrating all of this, and got the other, Gotras to fuck over Boba after all. But what I want to hear your opinion on this, Nick. But what Kingdom is saying is this too felt like a missed opportunity for Boba Fett, considering the Pikes were the one that directly murdered his Tusken family. So it was odd to kind of have him off screen again, and Fennec is the one that wipes them all out. Now, based on how the episode went, that's what he tasked her with doing. I mean, he was like, listen, this is your mission. I'm going to stay in the city and protect the city. You need to go take out their brain trust. But I do think at least the Pike leader might have been safe for, getting a gaffy stick to the eyeball or something. Would have paid off a bit more on that part of Boba's arc.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an issue with how it played out, because I think that at the moment, what was more pressing to Boba was definitely
the city.
Bane first and then the city. Because you see, like, he gets the Rancor, does all that stuff. He wants to, his biggest thing is like, he wants these people here to know that he is their protector. And that is the longest lasting effect that he can do. Like if he runs off and nobody sees him during this battle that's destroying what he's claiming to be his territory, and he's just off and like, you know, pulling some shit. And that's the thing is like these people here, they can't fight. Like they're not fighters. Like these people, as soon as you get near them, you pull out your gun, they're done. Like that's it. They were never going to give Boba an issue anyway. Like
these were the generals back when humans fought like morons and lined up in lines, and the generals would just sit up on a hill and with their little monocles and telescopes be like, all right, send in that, attack their flanks and send in that regiment, arrows.
I mean, I can see Kingdom's point, but I think that it was actually more important for him to be a hero for the people and not just selfishly get those kills because I don't like these
Nick,
people.
Nick, you just watch it. Does Cad ever reveal to Boba that it was the Pikes, or do we only learn that being discussed with all the bad guys?
No, I don't even think Cad fucking mentioned.
So that could be. It's like Boba already feels like he got his vengeance on those that wronged the Tuskens. So I don't think it was that huge of a concern. But I mean, I get Kingdom's point. It might have been satisfying to kind of, you know, I think he's saying here in the chat, you know, drop the Pike leader into the Rancor pit, give your good boy a nice little meal or something. But oh well. Fennec took him out, and you know she took him out Batman style. I think it was kind of true to her assassin. You gotta love that Mayor McCheese just gets neck lassoed and pulled up and hung.
I love. That's what I was gonna say. I actually love that they did that for an Ithorian character because like it's just the neck,
big
like,
neck.
His whole head is just the neck. So I was like, that actually is very.
All right, so I guess Cad did tell him it was the Pikes, but like Nick said, Boba had other things to deal with, like Cad himself and protecting the city. So
but like even him knowing it was the Pikes, I don't think that that's gonna make him like run to the Pike leader and be like, oh my God, you did this to me. Like there's too much else on the line that Boba needed to pay attention.
I'm with you.
So I thought that scene overall was cool. One other thing that I will say is one theme or potential outcome that we kept talking about was like, man, is Fennec going to turn on him? Like, is Fennec going to switch sides because she keeps telling him like, dude, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this?
Even in this episode, I forget what she said, but it was like the first scene where him and Fennec are in the burned out sanctuary. She says something, I'm like, oh shit. I mean, she's definitely turned on this guy, but ultimately that didn't happen. So that's another one.
And I'm kind of happy it didn't because
they're good together.
Important. They're good together, but it's also important for just people to know that like you can disagree with the things that people are doing, but still be loyal to them. Like, because every other time that somebody disagrees, like in the case of Anakin Skywalker, like, I don't think that the Jedi are doing things the right way. Well, I don't think that you are doing things the right way. Well, we're just going to kill each other. Like that's kind of how everything goes in like movies. Like whenever somebody has a disagreement, it's just like, well, we disagree. So we either have to kill you. It's like
humans now. I mean, it's like Star Wars fans. Like, oh, you don't like the sequels? Fuck you. You like the sequels? Fuck you. And it turns into that. No, fuck you.
So it was like, for me, it was important for people to be able to realize that, like Fennec may not agree, with all the decisions that Boba's making, and Boba may not agree with what Fennec thinks is best to do, but they're loyal to each other. They have each other's back when it counts the most. And that's what's important is the bond that's between them, not the small things that they disagree on. So I thought that
again,
was powerful.
very, very wise breakdown there, young Nick. I'm just a dopey guy that likes conflict, I guess. But I do. The final scenes, people are like, oh, what the fuck? I mean, once he wins and is getting the adulation, he's creeped out by. I mean, he's literally creeped out by people praising him, giving him shit, he's even bitching about doing the arm pound, like, I got you, like, doing the chest beat and stuff. And I think they make it very clear, and we'll talk about a potential second season after we're done breaking this down. But they make it very clear that Boba's done with this shit, and I think it's getting passed to someone that they made very obvious during the stinger scene there. But I will have to say, Nick, the screenshot I have up on the live stream now, this was the first time in the Mandoverse that I feel like we had a network TV Miller Time moment where the group's all together and they're like, yeah, you give the Wookiee the melon, hoo. It's like, yeah, Miller Time. It's like everyone was about ready to break open a beer and drink it and jump up and all do high fives, and then the camera pauses and then it goes to credits, something like that. But whatever. I mean, I think they are trying to establish these people as Boba's gang, and they may pop up as much as some fans do not like the Mod Squad. There's a good chance that they will remain in the Mandoverse. If anything, let's hope Santos stays in it. I mean, you gotta like that they even broke out the fucking rat catcher for the scene. I mean, that was how about that? Right? That's like just to put to put the cherry on top of this Miller Time moment we get. So
I like the scene. I know that people have problems with the Mod Squad. I never had a problem with the characters. And look, my other nitpick was that, like, I told Matt in the pre-show, I was like, look, somebody needs to sit down with Robert Rodriguez and be like, look, man, this, like, your speeder chases need some tweaking. Like, we need some work done on
hit
how
fast
you
forward or something. Run faster with the camera or the dolly or something.
Yeah, something like that. Because, like I was saying, like, Pelly's rickshaw goes faster. This is a great
point, by the way, people. Listen to this. Go ahead. I stepped on you.
So, like, Pelly throws the wrench at this rickshaw, this thing, and it's like just a droid with one wheel. This thing fucking hits it, and then boom, this thing's moving like fast. And these speeders, like, these kids are driving them, and I'll give it to you have to give it to the actors here.
They're trying.
Because they don't know how fast they're going, like, in the show. They're just like, you're in a speeder chase, you're going fast, make it look like you're going fast. So, like, that's how they're acting, which is why it looks even weirder, because they're like swinging these things into like turns and skids like they're going 90 miles an hour, but really they're only going 20. And that's all on Rodriguez and whoever's watching the dailies and stuff like that. But it's just, somebody has to explain to him, like, look, man, or whoever's watching these and making Final Cut, like, these, you need to be going faster than this if you're literally going like this to swing into a turn. Or to like, they hit something and they flip off. But if you're only going 20 miles an hour, you're not going to fly off of a speeder if you hit some. So that was a nitpicky part to me. I never had a problem with the colors, because honestly, like, can you imagine if you're like, you're in your early 20s, you're growing up on Tatooine, you're kind of like a rebellious kid. I don't know if the people listening have gone through their rebellious phase. But like, and you look at your surroundings and everything around you is like earth tones and fucking brown.
Run down, rustic, rusted.
Yeah. I'd be like, fuck that, man. Like, I want something that's got some color. I want to look badass. So, like, I never had a problem with that, but, like, definitely the speed of the speeders was
It's like, for some reason in this wing of Star Wars, if a vehicle does not touch the ground, it goes slow. Which doesn't make sense because there's less friction, right, if you're hovering. But and Nick, he brought this up during our pre-show. I was like, dude, you're right, because that rickshaw, I mean, that droid had some fucking wheels on him. Like, especially when he got the wrench to the head, he kind of he hit the NOS button and he was off to the races. But
he was rolling.
They just could not figure it out with the Vespas. Yeah.
Because in Return of the Jedi, like that's probably the fastest scene, and one of the fastest scenes in all of Star Wars is the speeder bike chase through Endor Forest. Like, those things were flying. So I just don't know why
that was shot in the early 80s.
1980.
Like, and they were literally just like sitting on a rig and having, like a screen go by them.
Yeah.
Hold on, we've been told to get on Star Wars Insta. Who knows what this means?
Oh no, get on Star Wars Instagram right now. Instagram.com/Star Wars. What is it?
I don't know. You have to be more clear, Mythos Bob. I don't know. Because all I see is...
Because I'm looking at it, there's like a Vader tease, decades long, Old Republic saga.
No, it's Malgus. It's like a big... It's probably up your alley, Nick. You still play SWTS, but...
It's the release of the new Star Wars The Old Republic expansion. If that's what he's talking about, I don't know.
Yeah, clear it up, Mythos. We're stupid, right? We're dumb. You're like, we need details, links, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't see a story, but if you're talking about that is Darth Malgus, and that is the trailer for Legacy of the Sith, the expansion for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and all of the stuff that you're kind of seeing leading up to it is just like a trailer of what's happened thus far.
Yeah, I'm so far removed from SWTS. I never even got into it, so I think Malgus looks badass, and these cinematics are fucking great, but. Oh well, it's not in my my periphery here.
People always love the cinematics. They're some of the best cinematics in the universe for Star Wars: The Old Republic, but nobody plays the game. People just didn't play it.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to Book of Boba, whatever you want to call him, Boba Cup, but. Rodriguez obviously taking it in the teeth again, and deservedly, I think. But I was saying to Nick, like, listen, he's one person. There are multiple people above him that were involved in this project. That it's not like Robert was locked away in a bunker, editing and didn't show anyone anything before these released. It is odd that you would have to think John, Dave, dare I say Kathy, other producers were looking at these episodes before they aired on Disney Plus, and they signed off on all of it. So, hey, I'm not excusing some of the mistakes we all perceived that Robert made, but this is an ensemble creation, and a lot of people were okay with it. I'm not saying that makes the wonky visuals justified. Let's just be real here. Robert's taking it on the chin, and he deserves a lot of it, but there's a lot of people that were involved that got George's stamp and were like, yep, approved. Yeah. Good. Speeders look great. They're going fast. Let's go. Get it out. Put it in the trailer.
We have to give credit, and we also have to give critique to John and Dave as well. Everybody wants to talk about, they are doing a great job with the Mandoverse. They are, you can call them quote unquote the saviors of Star Wars if you want to, whatever you want to do. But you have to give them their fair amount of critique, because as Matt said, Favreau wrote this episode. So if you thought that there were odd plot beats, then that is not going to be on Rodriguez. Right. Rodriguez is given a script, just like we heard in the making of Mandalorian Season 2, where John says, I gave Robert a 6-page script and I said, you fill it in with all your action bullshit. That's kind of what happens here. John gives him the script and he's like, you make this in the way that you make things. And Robert's not like, oh, well, I think that Fennec should be the one that kills all of the Pike leadership, or I think that Grogu should be the one that should quell the Rancor. This isn't, these aren't Robert's decisions. He's the guy who makes the words turn into moving pictures. He's not the guy who makes the words. So you have to levy a fair amount of criticism against writers and stuff like that too. Now, like Kingdom of Weird is saying, Rodriguez's episodes look worse when he had episode 5 and 6. You can show how to be done. So if you have a problem with the visual aesthetic of it or stuff like that, then you can levy that against Robert. But also, like Matt said, people like John is probably looking at it, the dailies. Dave is probably looking at the dailies. So there's a level of scrutiny that it goes through above Robert. And if they say, hey, check mark, then it's the onus does not fall completely on Robert for, the final cut is what. Yeah,
I'm not going to completely kick him out of the Star Wars club, because let's be real. The whole reason I think Book of Boba came to be was his episode in Mando, and making him look like a badass. So he did score that one, but I'm with everyone. I'm not like I said, I'm not an R-squared apologist. His episodes, even to me, did not look as refined as the ones not directed by him. But he was also given some content from the writing team. So, there's blame to share all around. And I don't know, I think Joe's talking about him and the mouse in his pocket, but I've been the one beating the drum all season long when people are like, oh, Bryce Dallas Howard's the best ever. I'm like, yo, she's great, but listen, she's on the backs of John and Dave's or John's story. All right, so it is a team effort, but we do like to kind of find individuals and throw darts or throw roses if it's the other scenario. But in the end, Star Wars is not just one person. It really hasn't been that way since George gave it up. When it was George, 100%. It was, especially the prequels.
Yeah,
all him.
It was legitimately one person.
All him. Everything. He made final calls on the art department. He wrote the story. He was directing everything. So outside of that, it's a shared experience at this point in time.
Yeah, even the OTs were a shared experience between the other directors and Larry Kasdan as writer on those movies. So.
All right, so continuing on with some of the key moments and where things may go. Gimmicky or not, whatever. Grogu and Mando together just make me smile. Seeing them in the ship in the little bit we got at the end. Parents, again, you're probably used to this stuff where your kids just, they want something and no. Tink, 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 tink. They want something. No. Tink, 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 tink. They want something. No. Tink, tink. All right, fine, I'll do it. It's just like all parents are used to that. But, you got to love Grogu sitting there beating on the window to get Daddy Din to hit the go fast button one more time.
Yeah.
And you get that shot when he hits the button of this little puppet going, woo! And to me, that's why I love Star Wars. That's why I like this type of stuff. It's silly, but it's fun. It's cute. Dare I say a word like that, being such a manly man that I am. But let's be real. These two are meant to be together. Whether we wanted it to happen now or not, they just work. There's something about a badass warrior in Beskar and a little baby Yoda that just is charming as fuck. And there's so much that they can do with the writing and the filming to kind of bring that relationship to life and make, people, other parents, siblings, just kind of think about their own relationships. So I love the moment. Who knows where they're headed? Like I said, now that Grogu's back in the picture, just willy-nilly like that, we have to assume that's how season 3 is going to start. And I would think that Din will be doing some legwork, some research on Mandalore and how he can redeem himself. Just now, we're going to have the little guy with him, which, I thought it would have been nice to have Din by himself for a little bit on this Mandalore quest, but hey, you got to sell fucking Grogu merch somehow, and you can't do that when he's off training with Luke off screen. So he's back, and it looks like we're going right into season 3 with the pair back together so soon. One thing, Nick, and this is this kind of wishy-washy stuff, but for more casual fans that might not have watched Boba Fett, do you think this cheapens the feels they had at the end of Mandalorian season 2 with them being separated? Because they're going to come back to season 3 and hey, we're back together already.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you have to, the story is reliant on all pieces now, not just, a continuation from season to season. If anything, for those of you or for the people who are just watching The Mandalorian and didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, now you have a reason to go back and watch it, because you can be like, all right,
what the
hell happened? Yeah. Like, clearly I missed something here. So maybe that was like a conscious choice by the writing team to like force people who haven't watched it to at least go back and watch some of the episodes and see, how Grogu reunited. I don't think it cheapens the moment. Because
we don't know how much. We don't know how much time passed. Really, it could have been a year. It could have been a year. Why not?
Like we don't really know it. Like this whole timeline's like, even from the beginning of Mando S1 to now, like it hasn't done a great job of giving you like time key updates.
We almost need like dummies sometimes that the 5 years later, 2 months, 2 weeks later, it would be nice.
Yeah, but I always try to take stuff like that in isolation. Like it, like, for me, it's not going to cheapen the moment, because in the moment when that was happening, like, I didn't know that a season of book later that he was going to be back. Like, you know,
right.
I just try to like compartmentalize that kind of stuff and not have it ruined by the things that surround it or come after.
Well, I was more talking about, like I said, people that aren't going to do Boba and would have no insights. But I think you make a good point. If they do love Grogu and the story, that would probably compel them to dig into it. At least watch, 5, 6, 7. It gives them a chance to go back. So, hey, I mean, I guess that's just another way. Like, oh, hey, yeah, you like that? Well, go buy yourself a Disney Plus sub and watch the Book of Boba Fett at your own house, you cheap bastard, something like that. So, and then the stinger we got, which may have been something else according to one of our sources, but it is revealed. And they try to trick us up early on. I don't know if you heard the Weequay, but I mean, he kind of makes it sound the din like Cobb is dead. He's like, oh, he fell. He got taken
killed
out
in cold blood.
Yeah, he's like,
I was like, oh,
all right. Well, then why the hell were you guys like doing CPR on him? And he looked like he was alive, but whatever. But you do get in the stinger that the person Boba was referring to, because we saw Santo there, so it wasn't going to be him unless Santo already took his turn that Boba promised him. Remember, Boba said, "I owe you a soak in the back the tank." So after, I mean, come on, I think. Kersantin challenges Din for the #1 bullet sponge in all of Star Wars, and that motherfucker doesn't even have Beskar. I mean, he was getting shot in the legs and the arms. He's getting hacked to pieces, and he's still ticking. I don't know. I love my man Chewbacca, but I have to give Santo the King of the Wookiees title for now. I mean, he is a badass motherfucker. At least he can take a ton of damage off screen and come back and win the day. But yeah, so Cobb's in the tank, and Nick, I think the reason this was the stinger, if they are going into a season 2, based on what Boba was saying, the Fennec, it sounds like they're done with this mission. They want to go back to kind of doing their own thing, and they even tease at the end, like Fennec says, well then, who can we trust? And it's like, all right, well, Cobb already has in the bag, he can take care of people. He can run a town. He can keep people safe, make them feel good. He's not a dickhead. He doesn't get in with crime syndicates. He was there essentially keeping the Pikes out of Mos Pelgos for as long as he could by himself. So I think the reason he ended up in the tower, in the tank, with the modder, was to kind of postulate Cobb is going to be the new daimyo of Tatooine. I think Boba's going to turn over the reins to Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, I think so. And I think with this ending, and we'll get to some potential different stuff like Matt said a little bit later, but with this ending, I think that this could be the way that they're trying to reshape Rangers of the New Republic. Okay. I know that essentially after, Kara left, or not Kara, what's her real name? After Gina left, that whole thing got thrown into disarray, shelved, probably something like that. But they probably had like a core idea of like, okay, well, we want this show to kind of be like, these are the Outer Rim Rangers of this new galaxy. And I think that, with Cobb taking the mantle as the daimyo of Tatooine, having this crew already around him with the modders, who knows what Black K is going to do if he sticks around, if he jets out again. And then also now having the relationship between Cobb and Mando, where Mando can come to Tatooine, feel safe now, can coordinate with Cobb and stuff like that. Huge base
of operations, right? I mean, they got the palace.
Exactly. I feel like they could use this as kind of a jumping off point for whatever the iteration of Rangers of the New Republic could be, whatever it is now, because it probably won't even have that same name. It'll probably be a completely different name. And then maybe this is where, if Crimson Dawn is going to come into this Mandoverse, like maybe it's with Cobb Vanth at the helm, and then that may bring, that may pull Mando back in, that may pull Boba Fett back in, and start to see kind of the formation of this super team, for lack of a better word, that can use Tatooine as a home base, and then can also kind of branch off from there. So.
I don't know if it, like you said, if it ever comes back, it may be called something else. And it makes sense because we're not really going to have the Rangers. I mean, they literally gave Cara Dune a fucking Ranger medal, more or less.
Yeah, I was saying, like the New Republic angle of that is kind of gone now, because that was the whole onus for it.
But you got to think. I mean, Cobb, I don't even know if we can classify him as a scoundrel. He really seems like a do-gooder. So I could see this guy who was a marshal of another Mos kind of being open to working with the New Republic and having some sort of real law and order versus every Mos for himself. I mean, they even bring it up. I think it was this episode, like, Mos Eisley, they do whatever the fuck they want. That was playing on the hive of scum and villainy we learned about in The New Hope, where Espa is ruled by the daimyo and Pelgo is pretty much a free town that has a marshal. But the guy's already kind of been in the role of some form of law enforcement or protector of the public. So I mean, I could see him getting down if the New Republic wanted to come in and work with him being open to that, because he already is a guy that seems to be more into the law than like a Han Solo. And I wouldn't classify Cobb Vanth as an anti-hero. Would you?
No, definitely not. Yeah. He's a sheriff. Like, he is, as far as we've seen so far, he is like the perfect example of like, hey, I'm the sheriff of a small town. And now he's going to be taking on a much different role. And as the leader of Mos Espa, I mean, Mos Pelgo was a town of 50 people, if that. But yeah, I don't see him as an anti-hero. I don't.
He is kind of a leader of men and women and aliens. Yeah. So I think him taking over for Boba Fett is inevitable. It just, how do we extend that? Is there going to be a second season? If not, how do we loop him and his daimyo ship back into the Mandoverse? I think Nick has a kind of a good idea. Maybe they repurpose Rangers, give it a new title, or just keep it the same and they make him a fucking Ranger. But
I will say that if he is able to get like, the New Republic out there to Tatooine, that'll be the first time probably in Tatooine's history that it's been under the I don't want to say control, but like under the umbrella of like the Republic.
True.
Or even the Empire, because like the Empire's
they left it to the
really
Hutt. I mean, they left it to Jabba. They're like, hey, fuck, we don't want to deal with the Outer Rim.
So like
who gives a shit?
Most of the core governments have always kind of just kept away from the Outer Rim because it's too far away. It's too hard to deal with.
No resources.
There's too many. No resources. Too many of the syndicates run around there, so it's just a constant problem. So if they did, like, if Cobb did kind of bring the New Republic to Tatooine, that would be an interesting first. Question from
go ahead.
I was gonna say from Kingdom says, take away the Mando and Luke episodes. Is this the Boba Fett film that got canceled?
I'm gonna say no, because I mean the Boba thing, if it was real, was so many years ago in development that the Mandoverse wasn't even a thing yet. I think it probably, obviously you'd have to see his save or his, I mean, who knows? Maybe it would have been during the OT era, but probably not.
I think I
don't think so. Yeah, I think it there was some pretty major changes to maybe angle him to be a little bit more of a human that talks and has feelings versus just, I think the movie probably would have went a little harder at his murderous, cold-blooded side, as Cad kept reminding us of.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are elements of it that were probably in the movie. Like, I do think that you probably would have seen a similar escape from the Rancor pit if they chose to play it in the post era. I don't think that I think that you get a similar beginning, I'll put it that way, where he escapes from the Rancor pit and then has to go through some sort of like desert, trials and tribulations to kind of make his way. But I think that you wouldn't have flashed ahead, because the entirety of the show is, the entirety of the meat of the show is essentially set in the current Mandoverse timeline. I feel like the movie would have just stayed from gets out of Rancor pit and then moves from there. And then, like Matt said, he probably either picks up his mantle again as
right
king
back
of the bounty
hunters,
and and kind of takes that route. But yeah, they definitely took elements, and then they made it fit into like, this is now Mandoverse. We want these characters to play together, so we're going to have to do a little bit of editing of what we.
Yeah, I mean, what do we end up getting? Like 5.5 hours of Book of Boba when it's all said and done.
Somewhere around there.
I mean, that's like 2 or 3 movies. So clearly they added a ton if they did repurpose any from the film. Another one here from Bat. No, Bat is asking, you don't think they've set up the Rangers type thing with the X-Wings being viewed as police type? No, I agree. I mean, I think they could still be in the reincarnation of Rangers that Nick is talking about. I mean, in fact, they showed up in Book of Boba. Captain Carson Teva clearly has an angle to talk to Din Djarin. So they're almost main side characters at this point. I mean, they were patrolling around Tatooine in the Book of Boba Fett. Trapper Wolf wasn't with them, but Captain Carson Teva was. So yeah, I think they would still play a big role in that. And I, as I kind of postulated earlier, I could see them trying to work with Cobb and maybe give him that the Ranger medal or some shit like that. Give him kind of officially bless him as some sort of governing body in the New Republic on top of his daimyo-ship of Tatooine. So I don't think that stuff's gone. If anything, they're probably going to bleed a lot of the Ranger stuff into the Mandoverse. Like it's not going to be a series, but you may get some of their ideas pop up in Ahsoka, Mando season 3, and whatever else we might get with Boba Fett. But looks like Cobb's going to get some sort of mods. What do you think they're going to do? Is he going to get like a robo arm, Nick? How do you think Thundercat's going to trick him out?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about. And that's the thing that was weird to me is like they bring in the modder, and really he got shot in the shoulder. Like go back. I mean, like maybe I need to go back and watch it again.
Did they blow his arm off? Maybe I
was gonna say, like, what the fuck happened? Like, did he have like a lot of internal damage because it's a blaster and like maybe it seared the inside of his arm?
Blaster bolts don't ricochet like slugs, correct? Like in a human's body, I would imagine blaster bolts go in and out or just burn,
or just like like if it hits, like it doesn't like. Yeah, so the only thing that I can imagine is like there was some serious like internal stuff, but like the only thing that they would probably have to address is his shoulder. So maybe he gets a fucking robot arm, and
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cobb with like a Terminator arm in the next time we see him. But yeah, I'm glad I think we all knew he was going to live, but this is confirmation. I think Timothy's great in Star Wars. He's great for the character. And I am excited to kind of see what they do with him. Because as I said last week, what I love about the Mandoverse is we're already getting payoffs on all these relationships that Din has established over the first 2 seasons. And now we're going to get that too from the Book of Boba Fett. Even if you don't like them, it'll be neat to see the Mod Squad show up in future something to do something. Same with Santo. Obviously Fennec. I wouldn't even mind seeing the Major Domo again, to be honest with you. I mean...
honestly, like he was, again... Like when you have those comedic characters, I really enjoy them. I enjoy those comedic breaks with Peli and with the Major Domo and stuff like that. It reminds you that like you're in a land of absurdity, and like so when Boba Fett is surrounded by fucking people with shields, and then he blows up somebody with a wrist rocket, it feels in universe because it's a universe of absurdity. Like you have to be okay with shit like that.
I like Trevor here. He's trademarking Beskar arm. He does want some armor, right? And even Cad reminded him, and I think he reminded Boba, like, hey, you took his armor. That's why he's dead, you dickhead. All right.
Yeah.
No, well, there you go. So there you go. That's
overall. Do you think that this season of Book of Boba Fett gave you what you wanted?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, you'll get no complaints from me. Sure, I could sit there and get on a high horse or a soapbox and nitpick stuff till the cows come home, but I'm not in Star Wars for that anymore. I don't really want to hate watch stuff. If I watch it and I'm entertained, I'm entertained. I don't need to justify it to anyone else. So I think from episode 1 through episode 7, as a whole, It's a solid series. It turned Boba Fett from a background mute character, bozo idiot, into an actual speaking character that has motivations now beyond just making cash. I think he's left wide open at the end of Book of Boba Fett, meaning they can take him in any direction they want to now. They could, maybe have him dabble in the seedy shit. They could have him head towards and do some heroic stuff with Din. Obviously the Mandoverse crossover stuff was a thing of beauty. I mean, people just 2 weeks ago were talking about how those episodes were the greatest thing they've ever saw. So you got to give credit to the Book of Boba Fett for that. So yeah, Nick, I 100% think this series did what I wanted it to do. Obviously, the finale was a bit anticlimactic because of what I had built up in my head. I'd still argue, as we broke down throughout our full deep dive, that some of the writing choices probably weren't the best. But in the end, we have moved the Mandoverse forward. We have added new characters, both interesting and for some annoying. And we have Din and Grogu set up on kind of a clean slate to enter into their adventure in Mandalorian Season 3, which I think is going to be heavy on Mandalorian stuff. This was not a Last Jedi for me, even though The Last Jedi wasn't a Last Jedi for me. So I'm good. I still like Star Wars. I don't feel like I need to burn down the mouse or throw shit at Kathleen, John, Robert, or anyone. Of course, there was some horrendous looking moments. All right, let's be honest. But so what?
Gotta be real.
I'm here. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm here for story, and for the most part, I think the story paid off.
Yeah, I agree. I think that from a story angle, they did Boba Fett. I think they did Boba Fett more than justice. I feel like the easy way was to make a show about Boba Fett just being a bounty hunter again. Just going back to his old shit, and then you follow him along with bounties and stuff. I think that's like the base level kind of what anybody would think about. Like, oh, if you're gonna make a Boba Fett thing, what's it gonna be? And anybody who knows the character would say like, hey, he's gonna come back out the pit. He's super pissed off at Han Solo because he knocked him into the pit, and that's it. He's on a case for vengeance. He's the bounty hunter again. He's getting back out there. Like that's easy. Anybody could have done that. Like it took a lot of character work. It took a lot of development, and it took a lot of good storytelling to tell a story about a man who has realized like, hey man, this is where my life choices have led me so far.
Yeah.
To the bottom of a Rancor pit,
bad.
Or to the bottom of a Sarlacc pit.
Choices equal bad. Need to fix.
Yeah, like clearly there's something that needs to be done here. So, while seems like a lot of people who watch this series just wanted the pew pew, fly, kill Boba Fett, like I think it actually did a lot more for his character and his development as a character to have a series like this.
Hey, look, Props showed up. Props, you missed I kind of laid down the law, and you're approaching the entitlement approach. So
yeah, no,
we'll leave you alone. It's garbage for you. You have fun in your dumpster, but we're not going to those lengths. But yeah, we had a whole talk on the fandom and what is intelligent critiques. And what is the entitled, just I'm gonna light it all on fire, wah type of stuff. So I'm not getting back into that stuff.
Catch it on the podcast platform. But yeah, I mean that's go catch the beginning of the show, Props.
Right.
But
listen, I just can't do it. I mean, call me a Star Wars sucker, or I open my mouth and let them shit down my throat. Whatever. I can't really name anything of Star Wars that I would just call complete garbage. I can't. Even as much as I dislike the prequels, I probably did say they're garbage a few times, to be honest with you. But at this point in time, as I've become enlightened, it's like, nah, fuck it. It wasn't for me at the time. Thanks to Clone Wars and other things, I've come around to it. I actually do enjoy watching them now, but I don't know. I'm at a point in my Star Wars fan life, that I watched Star Wars Resistance and liked it. All right, so I guess you guys can call me an idiot, a shill, a dope. I just like Star Wars. That's it.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. It's like, if could they have made the pew pew, I'm a bounty hunter again, Boba Fett? Like, sure. Would it have been good? Probably. I mean, the same people would have been in charge of it. But oftentimes, you have to realize that making the easy content isn't necessarily the best content. I mean,
right.
Just because something is easy to do, like, oh yeah, this is easy. You just get him out of the pit, get his armor back, and then he starts shooting people again. Like, sometimes that's not the best content. That's not the best for the direction that you want to take your character. So, something to think about.
Hey, in the end, there's definitely we'll call it like the TL. It's like a line in the fandom. It's like a demarcation line happened with TLJ, and I think you'll forever have those splits. It seems the same people that were really sour on TLJ were the same that were really sour on Book. And hey, as Justin's saying here, to each their own. It's not for me to figure out. I wish all Star Wars fans enjoyed stuff as much as I did, because it really does make me happy. I'm gonna miss that fix we got every Wednesday. And Nick and I were talking. We're like 3 months away from getting that fix back. I'm a junkie. I want it. I want to be excited on a Tuesday night to where I wake up at 4 a.m. and do 5 hours of work before my real work day even begins. But that's me. So I don't know. Am I stupid? I don't know. That's how you kind of are made to feel these days in the fandom, if you like something that other people do not. But whatever. Like I said, I want to get the fuck away from all that nonsense. It just, as Nick was saying, before we had Book of Boba Fett to talk about, sometimes it's hard to get up and do this because the fandom is so goddamn fickle and angry, and it's just, there's so much negativity sometimes. I live in the negative. I can't have it in my Star Wars. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I don't want that anymore. Like Brando. Maybe when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that, when I still had like a lot of piss and vinegar and everything, then like, maybe I would be online and stumping and saying, this is shit, this is fucking terrible. But, I wasn't like that with the prequels. I wasn't like that with the sequels. I've voiced my opinion on TLJ multiple times, but I was never the person that's like, I'm going to burn somebody's fucking house.
Like it ruined my childhood type of stuff, So hey, whatever. I guess you can't win them all. I'm just so far I'm glad that I'm enjoying what the Mandoverse has given us, because I know, trust me, people, those feeling salty on Book of Boba Fett, I know that feeling. But I can also tell you it's not worth holding on to that shit. I held on to my prequels hate for a decade or more. I mean, it's just, what, Nick, over the past 2 or 3 years, maybe, it's subsided.
It's recently that
because there was some Friday night. I mean, you remember we used to do this on Friday nights after happy hour for me. So and it wasn't live. I mean, we just get on, and sometimes Nick would be like, prequels, and I'd just be like, blah, 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 for an hour straight, just fucking going nuts.
I would budget at least 15 to 20 minutes of time for
every show,
in any episode, every show. Even if there wasn't like a prequel related story, I'd be like, 15. We got 15 to 20 minutes of Matt just like shitting hardcore on the prequels. Just it's gonna happen. Just build it in.
I get it,
and then we move on.
I get it, man. I get it. Those were the days, but boy. I'd go to B-Dubs, and I'd have a half gallon of Coors Light in my system. We'd hit go, and I'd just be like, blah!
Let me tell you what I think about Anakin Skywalker. And I'd be like,
see, Nick even,
like, all right, here we go.
He even remembers like my go-to arguments. Like I knew probably because I was drunk half the time, I was just repeating the same shit over and over. But hey, it's good to at least tolerate the prequels these days. It really is. And thank God for the Clone Wars. That's all I'll say. All right, so we're still with a little bit of Book of Boba Fett here because we did get an exclusive. Obviously, it didn't go anywhere because no one gives a shit about the Star Wars Time show, but such is life. We're used to it. Oh, sorry. Before I move on, Brando had a great line here in the chat. I like this. He said, "Yeah, man, that's why I mad up the difficulty on games so I can just enjoy the story."
Hey, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. No, I like that it's turned into a term now. Mad up the difficulty. Yeah. That's a thing of beauty. Brando, thank you for that. That is good stuff. Oh, that is funny. Mad up the difficulty. Can we get a drunk show sometime? Now, that might not be a bad idea.
Go back and listen to some of the shows before SWTS was official.
Yeah, I think we did a few on Fridays, but not many.
Couple. Yeah, because once we made the full switch over to SWTS, I think that I was close to moving into the house, and by that point, the Friday drunk shows had to end.
Yeah, we moved it to Tuesdays because it was like, I mean, sometimes I wouldn't even get home till like 9 or 10 my time, and then we'd go live, and it'd be like midnight on Friday, and I'm sitting in my basement like, rah! Prequels! It's like, what am I doing with my Friday nights here? I used to like get online and play games with friends and catch up, and now I'm just drunk talking in circles with a sober guy. But no, I mean a drinking show that could be a possibility, especially coming up in May here when we talk about Kenobi.
Yeah. Oh man, if we get bear on content, maybe we can try that out. We can both, maybe just do like a stoned cast where we both hit a little bit of the leaf.
The best ever still is the one where it was post happy hour. And it was the first time.
This was incredible.
I was sent cartridges, not like the 510 screw-on heads, but cartridges, and if you know, you know. They're just kind of a different level. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll do my pre-show. Hell, it wasn't even pre-show. I would just do it as we were talking. It was like Jay and Silent Bob back in the day. But it killed me. Like I was literally on Tatooine. I was gone. And Nick, we were talking about something. It was a new trailer, I think, for like a series coming out, or
it was for Resistance. It was for Star Wars Resistance.
Yeah, right.
And you were like,
we're breaking down a trailer, and Nick, he's just like, yeah, there was this and that, and I like this, and I really appreciate what they're doing here, and this is probably going to tie into this and the sequels. And he's like, so Matt, what did you like? And there was like an awkward pause, and I was like,
I like the helmets.
I like the helmets, like that, like real fucking slow.
And like that was the end of his statement, and I was like so caught off guard. I was like, "Oh, okay,
yeah, good for you, Matt. Thank you for sharing."
They looked great, man. The helmets looked awesome.
Yeah, now because I mean, you know how we work. We do very well with the pass. Very rarely do I stop speaking and there's dead air. Nick knows to just go. So he threw it to me. He gave me the speaking stick. And all I could say was, I really liked the helmets. and that was like, okay, well, moving on to the next topic on the Star Wars Time show. So, yeah. That was good times, man. Some of the shit I must have said on those episodes, like I feel like I should just go delete all that shit because I know I probably spoke some heinous stuff about people, about Star Wars, you name it. It was bad. All right. So real quick, Book of Boba Fett, like I said, we got an exclusive. Our source hit the bat signal, responded, put it out there. It didn't get picked up anywhere, but oh what. I am running it as a rumor because I couldn't vet it with an additional source. I do like to at least kind of get 2 yays or nays before I call something official. But according to our source, there was supposed to be another end credit scene in the Book of Boba. It was the same scene, but there was a different character in the tank, and that character was supposed to be Cad Bane. So, who knows why they pivoted? I still think Cad Bane is alive, but according to our source, Cad Bane was supposed to be the one in the tank, which maybe this was working on a redemption story for him. Maybe Boba like, hey, dickhead, look what can happen if we band together and do things for ourselves. But apparently Cobb was not supposed to be in there at first. And I did a little digging, Nick. The final episode was the first episode they shot during filming of the Book of Boba Fett. So maybe they were shooting it and something happened, maybe something leaked out, and then that's why they made a decision to change it. But according to our source, Cad was supposed to be in that tank and not Cobb. But it still looks like both characters are going to ultimately make it out of Book of Boba. So maybe they just kind of changed it up to give Cobb the tank and kind of gave us the nod to Cad's chest monitor. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that he was the one. Like, he's still alive. Like, because when I was going into that scene and they were pulling into the back of the tank, I was like, oh, it's going to be fucking Cad Bane.
Okay, so all right, well, you were kind of thinking that way just watching it.
Yeah, because I was like, oh shit, like he's gonna like fuck around with Cad, and like, you know, Cad is gonna be the one that, like, you know, he's gonna either try to get on good terms with it or something's gonna happen with Cad. But when it wasn't, I was like, okay, well, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong.
So it's not that far out of the realm of possibility that this did happen. All right, well then, hell, we'll call it true. This was legit. No longer rumor status. If Nick said I believe he could have saw it happen. And the other thing we got on Book of Boba Fett Season 2 plans, we were told that they were planning a second season, but based on the reception, it's kind of been put on hold.
Shelved.
And you know what, Nick? I went back. I was like, I know we talked about something like this before from Robert himself, and I did find the article. And Robert Rodriguez was like, he's like, listen, I think we could do a second season, but it could hinge on fan response. That was almost like his direct quote. I linked it in the article if you want to go check it out. But Robert himself did say, like, yeah, I mean, sure, we would love to do another one, but it could depend on fan reaction. Now, as a fan, I don't like that, but it's already happened in Star Wars, so we know it's a real thing. I mean, they completely and unabashedly changed their plans for Star Wars cinema after TLJ. I mean, it's on the record. We were supposed to have a movie all the way up until 2021. After TLJ, they made all those changes with Solo. They kept it in the spring. They're like, fuck it, give Mary Poppins the December reveal. Star Wars is dead in the theaters. They canceled any of the other movies that were supposed to be coming out, like the Kenobi movie. And that's when they kind of made the hardcore pivot to Disney Plus. So I kind of buy into this as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can definitely see there not being another season. I feel like since the reception was tepid, I guess is the best way to put it, if they want to be safer, then what you can do is just kind of wrap those storylines into either Mandalorian,
of course,
or if you want to do like a broader show that still includes all the players from books, so that still includes Cobb and still includes Boba and Fennec and still includes, you know, the Mod Squad and all those. You could do a broader show that doesn't focus specifically on Boba, but he's a key player to it. So maybe that'll be how they pivot it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they truly had stuff ready to go, some stories based on how, I mean, let's be real. Season 1 was written and shot before they would have wrote a supposed second season. So they know at the end, Boba, he's done with his experiment. So his path is wide open. They could take him anywhere. Yeah. I think Boba and Fennec, yes, Bat, I'm addressing your comment from the stream. I 100% think Ming-Na Wen is now a permanent fixture in the Mandoverse. She's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Tem's not going anywhere. I mean, hell, Tem has potential to show up in Ahsoka as Rex. He has potential to show up in Kenobi in the flashbacks as a clone. So that guy, we're going to see Tem left and right. We're also going to see Boba Fett. I mean, they didn't put Din and Boba together in Sanctuary and having that talk about loyalty and fighting together for fun. These two, as I said during the breakdown, they're now bonded. They're bros. They're man bros.
Man bros.
So
all right,
they're definitely going to funnel in. He'll funnel into Mando. He may funnel into Ahsoka, but yeah, we haven't seen the last of this crew.
I have to go let Taylor in the house because she locked herself out. So I will be back.
All right, I can vamp until you return, young Nick. So yeah, I 100% think Boba, Fennec, Chrysanthemum, the mods, hell, even the Major Domo all have potential to show up in future seasons of The Mandalorian. As Nick said earlier, if they repurpose Rangers, that would be a good fit for these type of people, as well as, maybe even Ahsoka. Because I think Ahsoka, they're still going to remind us that, hey, yes, this is Ahsoka. It's getting away from the guys with gun and armor, but it's still a part of the shared Mando universe. So there you go. Book of Boba Fett Season 2, probably not happening anytime soon, but there's a good chance that we will see all of these players that were either introduced in the Mandalorian seasons or in the Book of Boba Fett down the road in the Mandoverse. And if anything, I guess you can give credit to Book of Boba Fett for doing that. All right, so as I'm kind of running this by myself while Nick is letting in his lady love, we're going to shift into the Kenobi wing of this episode. That's right. It's like as soon as the credits rolled on Book of Boba, the Disney Plus and Lucasfilm PR machine was switched on for the Kenobi series because we got the first poster, we got the premiere date, and like I said, we even got some articles and quotes from Ewan himself. So the big one, the one we'd all been kind of speculating on, all right, when's Kenobi going to come out? I kept going, May the 4th. It makes sense. It's on a Wednesday. It's Star Wars Day. Well, I was wrong again. Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm sure this is not news to anyone in the stream right now because you're all kind of nuts like me and you're kind of keyed in. But just in case you missed out, Obi-Wan Kenobi is set to premiere on Disney Plus on May 25th. And you may be asking, why May 25th? Why not May the 4th? It just seemed like a perfect, matching and premiere date. Well, guess what? May the 25th is when Star Wars came out. So I think that's the reasoning why Kenobi is getting the 25th drop here. But yeah, that's great. I mean, it's nice to get some clarity finally. We can count it down. We can now make better predictions on when we're going to get the trailer. With Kenobi being dated for May 25, I think at the earliest, Nick, we get the trailer last week of March, more than likely the first week of April. And it's just, they do stuff with a plan. And it seems on Disney Plus, they have a very clear cadence on how they promote their live action shows. And it's usually 6 to 8 weeks before the premiere date that you start getting the deluge of the main trailer and then a bunch of TV spots. So I'm anticipating the Kenobi, like the main trailer, the one big trailer, because I mean, let's be real, they don't even fuck around with multiple main trailers anymore. You get 1 2-minute and then TV spots out the wazoo. So I'm 100% going with first week of April, at the earliest last week of March to get a trailer for Kenobi.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Gives plenty of time for some follow-up materials. And then look, maybe ahead of that, we'll get more little stuff like this. We'll get like a close-up Kenobi character poster. Maybe we get a close-up Vader character poster. You'll get all that jazz. Props. We kind of talked about this earlier. I mean, think about it. Why would Disney, who owns ABC and all this other stuff, why would they pay Super Bowl money to air an ad for something that they know everyone knows about and will see? It just, especially because it was on NBC, they would have had to pay the full VIG. It just didn't make sense. So I understand why Ewan was just reserved for an Expedia commercial, and we didn't get anything Kenobi. It wasn't a good business move, if anything else. They know all the 100 million people watching the Super Bowl. Whoever is a Star Wars fan within that, they'll figure out Kenobi's coming too. It's not worth the how much are ads now? Oh man, I think for like a 30-second spot, it's like close to $3 million.
I was gonna say, is it getting close to like the 3 to 5 range these days?
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, so the poster itself, Nick, some people have kind of...
7 million.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, there you go. Inflation's a bitch. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, not that, Disney, $7 million to them, they wiped their ass with it, but it's still $7 million. So they're like, fuck it, we'll save it for an IG or YouTube drop that we can pay an intern $10 an hour to do versus running it on NBC's network. So yeah, there you go. But the poster itself, obviously people picked it apart, zoomed in on Kenobi, and I believe he is not holding the lightsaber you may think he's holding. That is the family blade. Many people are guessing based on zooming in. I mean, if I zoom in here, it's going to turn into a pixelated mess. So yeah, to me, it just looks like he's holding a fossilized turd at this point in time.
Yeah, it's super hard to tell.
But I will take those that kind of got the high res and zoomed in. That indeed is the Skywalker blade, and it'd be kind of funny if that's like what he was using at a point in time. I don't know, to like feel a connection to what he was doing, or who knows. But good stuff there. So yeah, Kenobi 25th. Like I said, Devin made a good joke, that we'll get the trailer on May the 4th. I don't think it'll go that long, but hey, you never know. I really think, especially the way the Moon Knight trailer dropped about 6 to 8 weeks before its March 30 premiere, I'm just rolling with that. Because Book of Boba, we got the trailer early November. It came out in the end of December. So it seems to be that 6 to 8 week window from premiere to the trailer release. So yes, sadly, I think we got to sit tight for, at this point, at least another 6 to 7 weeks. Bat's right. We did get a Star Wars commercial. Did you see that one, Nick? All the goats that were like wearing... There's an actual Stormtrooper goat emoji now on Twitter.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Was it like in what? Was it in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was early Super Bowl from what I remember. Okay. I think it was like first half.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, so that's the other thing.
I was like semi-paying attention to the game. So
listen, I live in Ohio, but I'm a Steelers guy through and through. While I appreciate Joe Burrow because he's a fellow alumni of The Ohio State University, and the guy's just a fucking winner. Let's be real. He's going to make my life miserable for at least a decade or more, unless Cincy's and gets him killed by, not drafting an offensive line. He ends up being Carson Palmer. So, but either way, yeah, I didn't have a lot invested in the game. I'm just glad I had it on when that halftime came around, because that shit was dope, man. Like I said, my little kid was like, when are they going to do it again? When are they going to do it again? Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to have to wait a whole other year, because you don't really get halftime shows like this at anything but the Super Bowl. So, all right, we got a lot of Kenobi stuff to get through today. How are we looking on time here, Nick? Bad.
We're 2 hours in.
We're looking bad. So I'm going to cut... I'm cutting the Ray Stevenson thing from today. We'll talk about next week. Let's be real. We need shit to talk about next week because we're losing the gold that we've had for 7 weeks now in recapping Boba Fett episodes. So I'm definitely going to cut some of this stuff. But sticking with Kenobi, like I said, we got all interviews, posters, dates, all this stuff. But we did get something from Ewan. And, to people like us, it's like, oh, yeah, no shit. But it's nice to get the confirmation, if anything. So what we got from Ewan is he finally confirmed that he does act with Hayden as Anakin Skywalker. It's not just going to be as Vader. And like I said, geniuses like myself and Nick, we've been calling this from day one. We're going to get some flashbacks. We're going to get it when they were boys. It just makes too much sense. You could have Kenobi all depressed, living in a cave, kind of thinking about his life, like, how the fuck did I get here? And that's where we get the... Goes back, he's with his boy, they're kicking ass in the Clone Wars or something. But it's nice to just get Ewan to kind of confirm, like, yeah, this is happening. So here's what he said, just kind of talking about the show in general. It was a great experience. Deborah Chow directed all the episodes, and she's really good. She directed a couple episodes of The Mandalorian, and she's really a great director. She really knows the Star Wars world inside out far more than I do. We just had a great time. I think it's no secret that Hayden Christensen comes back and we got to play scenes together again as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. And it was just fantastic to work with him again. I'm not going to give away anything else about the storyline, only I think it's really going to satisfy Star Wars fans. Watch out, Ewan. Don't be like Robert. Don't oversell. Don't oversell.
Have you been on the internet, Ewan?
Don't oversell, homeboy. I always felt there was a story between episode 3 where I finished playing Obi-Wan in the movies and episode 4 where Sir Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series writers and Deb and I and everyone, I think they crafted a very fine storyline. I think people are going to like it. So at least he threw in some qualifiers there, Nick. Think and maybe, I believe into it. It's not this I can't overhype this show. And Robert, he kind of asked for, I think, some of the hardcore criticism he's now getting by the way he was selling the show in these interviews.
Touted it ahead of time.
So like I said, I don't think the idea of seeing Hayden as Anakin is a surprise to diehards, but it is nice to get that sign off from Ewan himself that this is happening. And as much as I'm excited about Ham Darth Vader, I'm nearly as excited to see these two back in the prequel era actually being directed well and giving good dialogue and good scenes to show us versus some of the cardboardy stuff we did get from them in the prequels. Yeah, I think that this could kind of be Hayden's fuck you to everyone if done right.
To George Lucas.
And the fans that blame him for looking like an asshole in the prequels.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And look, we've spoke highly of Hayden and his work in Star Wars and outside of Star Wars for a long time, many years. But I do kind of think, like, I can see why or Ewan would say something like, I really think that this is only going to satisfy Star Wars fans. Because if you look at it from like an outsider perspective, you have Disney Plus. You're not a huge Star Wars fan. You've probably seen some of the movies, probably seen the OT, maybe seen prequels. You see The Mandalorian pop up. You're like, what is this? But you can look at it as like a spaghetti Western in space. You have to have no Star Wars experience at all. It is not required for you to enjoy The Mandalorian. And even to a degree, it wasn't required for you to enjoy Book of Boba Fett because they gave you so much background context on who the character was through the beginning of the series that like you kind of grow to know him as the season goes on. Whereas with this, if you're not a Star Wars fan and you see a show that's about two main Star Wars characters and there's probably not a lot else going on, like probably not gonna be something that you check out just to check out. Because if you don't know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is, or if you don't know who Anakin Skywalker is, then
you're a loser. What's wrong with you? What did your parents do to you? You were raised incorrectly. No, I get caught up in this all the time. And I think some of it's part of my Star Wars narcissism, but I do think everyone else is like us with Star Wars, and they're not. That's one of the reasons why we don't have a big following, because it is still, as pop culture huge as Star Wars is, it's still just a little niche that it's like that get people like us that are super fans and dive into the lore or speculate on new stuff coming up. But for the most part, not every human is like us, and I sometimes have a hard time realizing that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure that the people that go out and see Star Wars at the movie theater, like the regular fans, do not give two shits about Star Wars news before a new piece of content drops. No. All they care about is like, okay, what's the date that it comes out? Like, they don't care like, oh, who's been cast and what's this.
They're not
and
on
what's
Reddit every fucking day like me. Like,
Yeah.
what may be happening in 5 years? Let me see.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sometimes
So
I gotta take
surprising.
that super fan hat off and be like, yeah, hey dude, there's a reason why you only have like an audience of 500 to 600. It's we still don't get as much of the super fan pie as I would like. You know, I saw on Twitter that Star Wars Meg hit 100,000 subs on YouTube, and I'm just like, fuck. Why can't that be us? But whatever.
I don't really know who she is or what she does. But
someone has said on here that she's mentioned this show before, so I don't want to say too much. But I do believe she has been mixed up in some of the very kind of clickbaity type of takes and titles on like Lucasfilm and characters and who's getting fired next and that type of stuff.
That's what you do to you gotta pull in those people. And I mean, clickbait shit like that is a good way to
it's everything
do it.
these days. Real news or not. I mean, I think we were talking about this before, or maybe to a friend. I mean, if you follow the news in this country, we're all going to hell. Civil wars are coming. We're all going to die. We might as well just blow our brains out. You know, the president's horrible. The government's horrible. Everything's horrible. But that's because it sells. People want to tune in to feeling like shit. It's the same reason why the developers of social media make the algorithm so it makes you feel like crap. That's what they want. They want you coming back and spoon feeding shit into your throat nonstop. Right? This isn't me saying I don't trust them. I'm talking about, like, you know, I still believe in journalism and the free press and all that, but all of them, the CNNs, the Foxes, either side, they all go for the ultra negative doom and gloom because that's what a lot of humans want to latch onto. It makes them feel good for some reason. When I've always taken it, and this is with politics or anything, I have eyes, ears, and a brain. I can interpret what is happening in the world myself without someone else's slant. It's not that hard. But a lot of people can't. They want the slant. They want to believe in the ultra left or ultra right opinion. And I don't even know why the fuck we're talking about this anymore. So let's go back to Star Wars. Like Star Wars. I don't even know how I got on that fucking tangent there. But
for those of you who are out there listening, like,
clickbait.
Like,
no, we're talking about negativity and titles and clickbait. Trust me, I tied it all together right there. There you go. There's your learning lesson for the day.
Like, I was not like saying an opinion in any way on any creator like Star Wars Mag or any other, because when I say that, like, I don't know who they are, that's because, like, I don't know who any, like, Star Wars creators are.
Well,
I don't like
Nick is a super fan, but he's like 10 times less of a nut than even I am. So, like, Nick's like in his own super fan category where he loves Star Wars, he's in the know, but he's not like me where I'm like, oh yeah, I know Star Wars Meg and Zero and Star Wars Theory and this and that and the Reddit leaks, this guy and Jedi Praxis. Like, I know all the dumb shit. So I'm as cuckoo for Coco Star Wars puffs as it gets. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Star Wars Meg, good for you. Maybe one day we can get to 1,000 subs.
Hopefully we'll.
Oh, let's go. We got so close, but now that I'm not doing Boba recaps, the sub cap. Look, come on, people, get more people to sub to this dumb ass show, please. I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm gonna start like I don't know. Like, maybe we should get more negative. Like, every post is gonna be like fuck, and the next one will be shit, and the third one will be dick, and who knows? Maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
All right.
But we still have more Kenobi.
That's right.
I mean, that, you know, you prefaced it when we first started the show. Like, as soon as fucking book ended, they were like, Kenobi. It was everywhere.
Kenobi. It was even like the leakers were sitting on stuff because as soon as book was over, you know, this one we're talking about, I think this is a combination of Bespin Bulletin and Making Star Wars, but we got some updates on Kenobi, in particular the Inquisitors and who's who and how they're going to be portrayed. So the first bit of news here is that the Grand Inquisitor in Kenobi is going to be played by Rupert Friend, who we do know is on the cast list 100%. Yeah. And as Nick said, we also know that Moses Ingram is playing one of the Inquisitors. Who is she? Third sister, second sister, your mom's sister?
Third sister. Yeah, third sister is the best speculation that people have now. I don't think it's been officially announced, but the best speculation is that she's playing the third sister.
Right. And the report went on to say that the Inquisitors are going to be extremely brutal in Kenobi. As Nick kind of put in the article, it's going to align to how it was her name, Trilla, and how they were acting in Jedi Fallen Order. And here's a quote here. This comes from Bespin Bulletin. A scene where Moses Ingram's character cuts off the hands of a Tatooine citizen, which amusingly shocks the Grand Inquisitor. This has come from Making Star Wars, and he goes on to say that the group are brutal in the series, and this scene of Ingram's Inquisitor is just an example of the brutality we're set to see in Kenobi. Yes, so that is excellent.
I don't take that as surprising in any way. I mean, I think that for like 1980s, I thought that Vader was pretty brutal. Like he choked somebody to death the first time you saw him.
Yeah.
Like, the first scene he's in, he's got a dude held in his hand,
getting taken out.
Yeah, just fucking choking him to death. And then, so like dark side Force users have always been pretty brutal. But it is interesting to see, like, are they going to take this like for a Disney Plus series?
Right.
Are you going to take this up to an 11?
Where they're it sounds like they're almost going to be getting off on being brutal. Like the Grand Inquisitor looks at her like, hey, that was a good move. Let's
like, hey,
you see that bum? Cut his legs off. Why not? And she's like, there you go. See you later, pal. It makes sense. I mean, especially if you know of the Inquisitors from the comics. I mean, the dark side, anything, they exist to be miserable and hateful and not trust anyone. So yeah, they're a bunch of freaks. Like they're not going to do anything that's righteous. They're not anti-heroes. They are villains with a capital V. No doubt about it. And the rest of this report goes on to state that Vader is going to actually be played by 3 different actors. And it makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it falls exactly in line to how things played out for Mando. So you had, Pedro Pascal, who is playing Mando whenever his face needs to be shown in any capacity. And then outside of that, you have Lateef, who's doing all of the fighting.
And Brendan is the other one.
Brendan, who does the walking. Yeah,
apparently most of anything that isn't fighting.
Yeah, so... the people who are going to be playing Vader, obviously Hayden Christensen, for any scenes where his face is shown or he's disrobed in any way. And then, I think they're going to use his voice as well. Like they'll have his like modulated voice be the Vader voice for all of them. And then Demetrius Petrevsky is playing him while he's sitting or standing. And that's because he's 6'6". So Petrevsky has like the size.
Right. If people remember, I believe this was on the BTS of Revenge of the Sith. Hayden demanded to get in the Vader suit, and I believe they had to like build stilted boots and whatnot. Yeah. And this time they're like, you know what? Fuck you. You don't get those demands. So
like, hey, bud. Yeah. You don't carry the weight that you used to.
Right.
And then the third actor who is going to be doing all the fighting is Tom O'Connell. Tom O'Connell's been around Hollywood for a while. He's played a lot of different like small acting bits, also done stunt work and stuff like that. So he's going to be playing Vader.
His name's going to come up in our next topic here in about a minute, by the way. So he's got, it seems this guy like Lateef and Brendan really got himself in good and is now being used throughout these live action Star Wars shows. So,
hey man, that's the way to do it. That's what your friend missed out on.
Dude, I mean,
that's what Stunt Buddy missed.
You're telling me, like, to this day, if I ever meet his son in person, I'd be like, what did you do to your father?
Like, hey, you ruined
son
your
of a
dad's
bitch. he's like 2 years old. I'd be like, you little cunt. What did you do to your dad's future?
To your dad's future and
to mine, like my access.
Riding his tail coat.
Exactly.
His coattails.
Because I'm telling you right now, like if he got in and he got in good, I would be signing up for my fucking SAG card and I'd probably not teach over the summers anymore. And I would be out there fucking standing on a set for 16 hours being miserable, but I would be in Star Wars, goddammit. Yeah. And you took it all away from me, you damn fetus. Rupert Friend as Grand Inquisitors. Inquisitors are going to be crazy, overly violent, and 3 people playing Vader. All right, moving on in this rapid fire updates of Kenobi news here. So MSW went on to detail exactly how much and when we can expect to see Darth Vader himself. And he is not going to be in every episode of Kenobi. In fact, it is explained that the first 2 episodes are going to be heavily focused just on the Inquisitors and the Skywalker children. So kind of like the setup. And you know, from what we've heard, we've kind of figured that the Inquisitors may get a hold of one of them or get close to one of the twins, and that is what is going to finally get Kenobi out of the caves. And that's some of the other things that was in this report. Like, at this point in time, Kenobi is like a sand rat. He apparently isn't living in his hovel yet that we see in A New Hope. He's scavenging Tatooine. Because you got to think about it. He's literally dropped off on Tatooine with an AOP and Luke Skywalker, the baby.
Yeah, he doesn't have much
to
use to survive.
Yeah, it's not like Jedis had bank accounts or connections. So I mean, he's literally a vagabond. He's a vagrant of Tatooine. So the first 2 episodes, Skywalker children, Inquisitors, the setup. All right. But then by the 3rd episode, this is where Darth Vader, rumoredly, is going to take center stage as the main antagonist for the remainder of the series. So, you know, episodes 1 and 2, no Darth. It's going to be his henchman doing the setup. He's probably going to learn that Kenobi, you know, I hate you. I hate you. You know, that type of stuff's going to come back. And he's described as, once he ultimately shows up in Kenobi, that he is going to become the main puller of the strings over the course of his episodes, and his attitude is peak angry. Like, it was described as Rogue One, but even fucking angrier. All right, like this is peak Vader in his self-wallowing pity, where he does derive the most anger from. So I mean, he is going to be completely kind of off the rails, laser focused on his mission, and he's going to be bringing the pain 100%. You know, we talked about this in our leak about their fights, and you know, he's going to throw Kenobi like across an entire landscape. It's just going to get nuts. So, you know, think Rogue One Vader, but even deadlier. Yes. Thank you. Nipples are hard. Moving on. We should also not expect Vader to duel Kenobi like he dueled his son, meaning it's not going to be a lot of talking and you know, trying to throw out, hey, you know, let's team up type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. Like, he is out for blood. He wants to kill. So there's not going to be a lot of like, oh, you could
turn to the dark side.
Come with me, like, Obi-Wan. We can rule the galaxy as former apprentice and master. And none of that shit's fucking happening. I mean, it's going to be on, you know, he is out for blood. So there's going to be no reminiscing about the good old days. So that stuff's all great. I mean, it sounds like by episode 3, Vader becomes the guy, the main antagonist, which means we should get heavy helpings of him. And the best part is his pissed off meter is at full. So the potential for jaw drop moments, for just me getting on my knees and doing like the Ewoks to C-3PO in Return of the Jedi, the potential is very strong, much stronger than maybe we even guessed before we knew how much Vader we'd get. But this is really sounding like it's going to check all my Darth Vader's my favorite character boxes here, Nick.
Definitely. I mean, like, we want the bloodthirsty Vader, but also knowing that there are those Anakin moments, like,
yes,
potentially new Anakin moments we've never seen.
No, I think it is going to be all new. Like, Nick, I'm thinking it's going to be war stuff, like where they were equals. They were he was no longer the pupil. He was General Skywalker. We had General Kenobi, kind of like what we got in the Clone Wars. That's what I'm hoping for.
Just having that balance, having like that beautiful nostalgic moment between like two brothers built through battle, and then like the brutality of the fighting between these two is going to be fucking
the
awesome.
Hate between them now, because you would have to think Kenobi, I mean, he did try to kill him, so he doesn't have much. He doesn't have much love left for him. So
Kenobi is probably like, look, dude. Kenobi probably wants to kill him still.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I don't think
100%.
Obi-Wan's not going to come back and be like, oh, I didn't kill you last time. Now I feel bad. Like, let's try to fucking work this shit out. Like, he is going to be like, I need to cut your fucking head off.
Yeah.
Or if you're by the fucking lava again, I need to push your ass in it. So,
see, I still think, even though, this report is saying it's not, their fights aren't going to be very wordy. I do think ultimately Kenobi gets the upper hand again. And as he has him beaten down, he may go back to what Padme's last words were to him. And he may try to reach out. Because I really think in Kenobi, we are going to get a payout to what Vader says to Luke in Return of the Jedi, which, doesn't make a lot of sense based on what we have right now. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, you can tell Vader is thinking about what Luke is trying to sell him. He is really thinking like, could I be good? Could I be good? And he ultimately says, Luke, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. You don't get that in the prequels. Obi-Wan's given the mission to kill him from Yoda, and that's exactly what he goes and does. He doesn't try to talk him down. From the moment they're on the landing pad, they're ready to fucking rumble. So to me, I think we get that moment in Kenobi where, Obi-Wan does realize, like, I beat the fuck out of this guy again. And I don't think he's going to walk away. I think something's going to happen where someone intercedes and Kenobi has to leave and Vader lives another day. But I do think Kenobi will make one last pitch to his former friend, either seeing him in the flesh again after beating his helmet off, or, Padme kind of comes into the back of his head. There is still good in him. There is still good in him. And he tries, and ultimately we know that that's not going to work either. That's one of my first guesses here for Kenobi and how these two interact.
Yeah, good.
The last thing from this report, that Tom O'Connell guy Nick just talked about, he is rumored to also play a new Zabrak Jedi in the Kenobi series. So Zabrak, think Darth Maul without the tattoos, so more like Eth Koth from the prequel era, but not Eth Koth.
Yep. Excited to see that.
Yeah, new Jedis are always.
This has got to be like flashback, right? Zabrak Jedi.
It could be, or just maybe this is one of the survivors that we see the Inquisitors taking out early on, just to kind of.
I was going to say, like, maybe Vader cuts him down, but the way that those dynamics would work would be weird, because if O'Connell's playing the Zabrak Jedi and he's also playing Battle Vader,
you can't have him. You can't have him in the same fight scene, right? So I think it could be prequel, but it also could be this is one of the hidden survivors, and this is kind of their way, the writers and Deborah, to show us this is what the Inquisitors did. For the people that aren't like us and reading comics and talking about this shit all the time. Because even like a Star Wars fan, they may not know what the Inquisitors are, especially if they skipped Rebels. So that they're going to have to set up what this faction does and why they do it, and it's hunting down the survivors of 66.
Very true.
Okay, last one on Kenobi, and I almost feel like pushing this too, but we've already spent so much time in Kenobi, and we might as well just,
And this is like a fucking no-brainer.
Suffer through it. We don't have to spend a lot of time here. But MSW, like I said, I don't know if they got the green light from their sources, but they've been all over Kenobi news these past week and a half. But according to them, it is confirmed that Jimmy Smits will appear as Bail in Kenobi. And as Nick said, it's like a no shit, but he wasn't on the casting grid. And apparently, according to Making Star Wars, that was on purpose. Like, they were really trying to keep Smits' involvement hidden, but it just makes too much sense. There's some setup to be had for what Leia says in A New Hope. Like, hey, Obi-Wan, you were like my father's boy. We don't get any of that in the prequels. We don't really even get any of that in the Clone Wars. I mean, yeah, Kenobi was a general in the Grand Army of the Republic, but it's not like that was Bail's number one guy. It's not like Obi-Wan was defending Alderaan in the name of the Republic. No. So we're going to get more of their relationship together. Because if anything, if you think about it, Bail Organa is a very unique character in the Star Wars saga, the Skywalker saga. He's the only other person in the entire galaxy besides Yoda and Obi-Wan that knew about Anakin and Padme and their offspring. He was a major player in the Senate. He's also a founding member of the Rebel Alliance. So Bail Organa, for a guy that we never saw in the original trilogy, and he tragically got blowed the fuck up, he's a huge player in this in the Skywalker saga and the original trilogy. So yeah, it makes complete sense. It could very well be Bail. Hey, Kenobi, I know you're on Tatooine. I am the only person besides Yoda that knows that. Shit's going on here. They may know about Leia. I need help. Hello. Stuff like that. So
yeah.
And the other thing that, also is probably common sense, but MSW is saying that Breha Organa, Leia's
his wife,
Leia's adoptive mother, will also make an appearance, but MSW could not confirm if she would be played by the same actress, Rebecca Jackson Mendoza, who played her in that quick clip from Revenge of the Sith.
I will say that is her only acting credit.
Well,
is on IMDb her only acting credit.
Like her and Hayden, there's always a chance down the road. Many years later, if you're in Star Wars, you never know when you might be called back. I mean, good for fucking him, but look what Tem is cashing in on now. He plays he's in one character in the prequels, turns into hundreds of thousands thanks to cloning, and now he has paydays lined up in this new live action Star Wars as Boba Fett, as any flashbacks to clones, Django, you name it. I mean, this guy is having his meal ticket repunched, all because of one fateful acting job back in the late 90s, early aughts. Yeah.
Fucking crazy. Hey, good for him. Good for them.
All right. So like I said, we'll definitely talk about Ray Stevenson joining Ahsoka next week. It's just it's getting long in the tooth. I promised Nick we wouldn't do 3 hours. We're doing 3 hours. So at the end of the show, he's going to swear at me, call me names, and then he will grab his Matt Voodoo doll once we turn off the cameras and stab it in his penis. All right. So Nick, that means we're just going right into the fan segment of the week. If you want to get involved, fans, you know the deal. We have 2 avenues to join in the fan segment because it is all about you in the end and us wanting you to trick other people to listen to the show. But we do the question of the week, which I failed hard this week. I realized when we were going to pick stories that I forgot to post it. So it only showed up in stories. So only a few of you made the cut this week. But usually every Tuesday morning, check us out on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show for the question of the week prompt, which should be in our stories and in our post. The other method is, of course, the top 5 honoring of a week's worth of featured artists that are sharing their Star Wars creations with us. That too is done through Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. All right, Nick, so let's start with the abbreviated question of the week. Let me get the screens up here. All right.
Yeah.
So, question, and I'm doing one more book of Boba Fett for next week, and then I'm not going to be able to kind of rest my laurels on that layup question. But this week, of course, what was your favorite or least favorite part from the Book of Boba Fett finale episode? Take it away.
All right. First response here is from
Kingdom of Weird. Kingdom.
He's in our chat right now, so thank you very much, Kingdom of Weird. He says, this episode had all the right ingredients. It just wasn't left to cook long enough. It was rushed, which is strange because the first 3 or 4 episodes of the show were spent answering Boba fanboy questions, and the previous 2 episodes belonged to the Mando Season 3. It had plenty to love in this episode, but nothing was allowed to settle, and we just had 4 episodes of content crammed into 1 hour. Such a shame. The best part, my 9-year-old loves it. He's on his 5th or 6th.
There you go. That's a way to kind of.
I'm going to say this,
around.
Kingdom. That last line is more important to Disney than whether you liked it or not.
Yeah,
because that's their future fan base. You'll be dead, and your kids will still be watching.
They want as many Matt Haywoods as they can get. Trust me. They've had me hook, line, and sinker since I can even form thought. And it hasn't stopped, and I'm pushing. I'll be 42 this July.
Yeah, your thought as a parent is less important to them as your child's.
We're all young at heart still, but in this world, even in entertainment, it's the bottom line that matters most, and you got to get them young. That way, they'll buy. Right.
All right. Next up. Devin Gray, which is Rogue Ranger Customs, I believe, on Instagram. They say, I loved seeing Fett and Mando fly out of the ruins and start whooping tail together. I've been waiting to see Fett flex, and this episode didn't disappoint. I was bummed to see Cad Bane die.
He's alive.
He might not be dead. He's alive.
Just like Frodo lives, Cad Bane lives.
Exactly. But he says, but I think it was time, and it was a fitting way for him to go. Something I really enjoyed about that fight was how Fett used the techniques he learns from the Tuskens. Also, who didn't love seeing Fett ride the Rancor?
Hear, hear.
Good stuff. And last one this week for the question of the week is Ripik Tan.
That's
Ripik's always in the stories. Glad to see it. He says, don't want to sound too negative, but I didn't connect with the finale as much as I thought I would. Cad Bane. Yeah. Cad Bane and the Rancor were super cool. Peli Moto whipping around on the pedicab from ATOC was fun. And the music throughout the full season was great. Definitely ready for Kenobi. May can't come
real
soon
quick.
Enough.
The music, by the way, did anyone else? I know in Discord we went through this, but Nick, I'm guessing you didn't pick. Did you pick up on the changes to the Boba Fett theme song at the end?
Fett.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. When you heard it, were you like, "What the? Am I hearing? Are they actually singing his name now?" And they are. It is a different version. We have the version in our Discord. That's just another reason to join up. But I loved it, and Nick got it 100%. He passed the quiz. But right from the get-go, it's no longer, huh! They just were like, fuck it. Fett! Boba Fett! I was like, this is so rad. I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, and then even like the chorus, it went from just chanting to Bo Fett.
If I was Tamara Morrison, any media appearance I did,
you play that.
You have to play that song before I walk in.
It's like your wrestling song, which you come out to when you're in the WWE. I mean that fucking song when they're saying his name is even better than just the chanting. I absolutely love the theme song. My daughter and I, every Friday now, we have to listen to the Book of Boba theme when I pick her up, and the Mando theme, so we can both, kind of do our fist pumping when it kicks in. But the slight change with the finale, just chef's kiss. Loved it. It was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Boba Fett. I mean, you can't, once you start, I mean, I'm probably going to be doing this for the rest of the fucking episode now. It's like Tourette's to me.
Just get stuck. It gets stuck in your head. But yeah, I know as soon as it hit, I was like, oh man, they made it Fett instead of just, huh.
Yeah, dude, I'm watching this stuff at like 5 a.m. So sometimes I feel like I'm hearing things or hallucinating and
like hazy.
Sure as shit. I was like, no, they're doing this and I dig it.
Oh, yeah,
all right, awesome. Man. It's time for the top 5 Star Wars fan artists of the week. Again, check us out on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Any Star Wars content you post, be it real ass paint, be it words and shit, toy photography, tattoos, bathroom photography, bathroom sculptures, it doesn't matter. Tag at Star Wars Time Show and use hashtag Star Wars Time Show throughout the week. I'll feature shots on the page, and then Monday night, Nick sits down with his bourbon and cigar and goes through all of the week's picks and chooses the top 5 to discuss on the latest episode of the SWTS. So, my friend, who do you have for us this week?
This week, top 5 kicks off with _articulator_ toy photography. I believe this is a first time top 5.
Might be a first and first, one of those first and first, like a first feature and a first top 5. It happens. It happens sometimes.
First. It does. And with a shot like this, if it's a first and first, I can see why. What we have is an awesome, this is like a scene. This is a scene recreation.
Steady scene recreation for sure.
3. Yeah, where we see Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi defending the Jedi Temple, and we see Yoda doing some acrobatic flipping. And in the scene, he like flips, jumps on a stormtrooper's chest, and then sinks his blade right into him. And that's the exact moment that we see here from the articulator toy photography. Yoda on the chest of the stormtrooper, blade through him, while laser bolts are streaking past him, and Kenobi's up on the other side of the frame. You can't see him doing his best to kill all the turned stormtroopers as well. So I just thought it perfectly captures that exact moment of that scene.
Yeah, I mean, in toy photography, Nick, you either have people cook up their own stories and scenes, you have the more static approach like myself, portraits and whatnot, and then you have scene recreations. And this, as you said, is top notch. The posing's great. I mean, let's be real. I think the 501st are the best looking clones. You got to like the Phase 3 helmet and then the paint scheme. And plus, we know they're tied to Anakin. That probably gives them an added cool bump. But just job well done. Posing great, framing good, good effects on the lightsabers and blasters. So overall, good work here from @the_articulator_toy photography.
Absolutely. Beautiful stuff. Next up.
Oh, shit.
Good friend of the show,
quick,
good
Nick,
friend of Matt.
Look what showed up today.
Okay.
There it is.
Tell me, because there's a bit of a delay.
It is the
Razor Crest.
The HasLab Razor Crest has made it to Star Wars Time HQ. It's so big I can't even get it in frame, and it's definitely beefy. But the reason I did that because the shot we're looking at from @BLK SRS.
BLK,
I can't remember.
SRS
I can't remember 5 characters. That's that, or 6 characters. I'm dumb as shit. But yeah, so mine showed up today, and I'm definitely not going to get outside and do shots like the one we're looking at right now from Zay because it's cold as fuck up here. I'm old, and I don't feel like going outside right now. But go ahead, Nick. Let's break down this one from @Black Series.
Yeah. So this is actually like a series of shots from Zay from Black Series on Instagram. And what we see is just like some awesome images of Din just kind of landing on almost like a Felucia-like planet. Obviously, it's probably somewhere in Zay's backyard.
I think it's at his place of work, which is even better. It's like he runs outside for a little bit.
He's like, hold on, I got to take a break. Big foliage, where we see Mando stepping outside the Razor Crest, standing there kind of looking up at his surroundings. If you flip through, you get different angles of the shot, and you also see Grogu is with him in the door. I mean, this like HasLab Razor Crest, for all, for as much as the Razor Crest is in pieces scattered throughout the galaxy now.
It's a dead ship, but this is a...
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful images here from Zay from @BLKSRS.
I'll tell you what, man. I had backed the Razor Crest. It feels like it's well over a year ago. Yeah. And at the time, I was kind of excited because I didn't do the first one with Jabba's sail barge, and I felt a little FOMO kicked in. But I'm trying. I'm trying to just get down to just doing hot toys. I got to do something. I failed like a motherfucker last week. Like that was. That shows you that I'm still a collecting crackhead. I can't shake it quite yet because I was so weak last week. But anyways, I was like, you know what? I probably could flip this thing for 3 times what I paid for it. But after I saw Black Series and some other people breaking them out, I was like, no fucking way. I'm keeping this thing. This is like a conversation piece once you get it built and set up in your collectible room. I hope to do some pictures of it. I doubt it's going to happen anytime soon. That's why we have, Black Series and the go-getters out there, the big accounts to do this stuff for us. But it is a damn good-looking collectible at the TVC scale, and it does make me consider, maybe I can wean off of Black Series if I kind of supplement it with a little bit of the 3 3/4 inch. But
they're cheaper too, right?
A little bit.
Less money?
They're catching up to the Black Series, but yeah, I don't know. But either way, we all know he's a champ in this industry, in this field. @BLK SRS, check him out. He's growing, doing great stuff, getting paid to do this stuff here and there. So one hell of account to get behind if you are new to toy photography or just like kick-ass looking Star Wars art.
Yeah, absolutely. @BLK SRS on the IG. Everything he does is good, so make sure you follow. Next up, we have @ActionFigure Snaps with a Z on the Instagram. That's our good friend Adrian. I'm not wearing one of the shirts right now, but he gave us the shirts that you usually see us wearing on the live stream.
My mom got me a new one for Valentine's Day, so I figured I'd break it out.
Nice. But what we have here from Adrian is a fantastic image of Mando from the end of Mando Season 1 when they're by that lava river.
There you go. Yeah, Navarro.
Yeah, on Navarro. And what we can see now in the lava river is a fully submerged stormtrooper, and you can still see like one arm like reaching out, trying to save us. Please,
at least pull out my arm and head because the rest of my body is disintegrated at this point.
Yeah, but Din is just doing the cool guy walk away. Probably kicked his ass, kicked him right into the lava, and then just did the cool guy walk away from him. I just love the tone of the shot. It reminds me so much of Mustafar, because obviously Mustafar is a fucking lava-ridden planet. But just seeing like the red hues reflecting off of Mando's Beskar armor, the stormtrooper there submerged all the way down to his neck, and it was just a cool setting.
I'll tell you what, and I've seen this coming with at action figure snaps. Adrian he's going through what I call like a metamorphosis into the next level of toy photography skill.
Renaissance.
Yeah, there you go.
Of his own.
You can just see like this person has been practicing, looking at other people, learning techniques. I mean, Nick, all this is practical, by the way. He borrowed it from, remember when Visual Approach made a Mustafar like Dio? So same concept here, but that's what I mean. Like Adrian he's doing what I would have liked to have done if I didn't have a kid and all that shit, but getting better at it. Like a Jason B. Michael. I love when Jason B. Michael puts out his shots from when he first started, because they look very basic. And now you look what that guy puts out, and they're fucking works of art. So I like watching, even though I'm not doing it as much myself. I love watching these people we've talked about for years now, just how they grow in this art form. And at Action Figure Snaps is definitely one of those accounts that has taken it up a notch recently. And this shot is proof in the pudding, as they say.
100%. So at Action Figure Snaps with a Z on the IG, make sure to go give him a follow. Next up, we have, this is just like a picture perfect shot from movie
still style shot for sure.
Yeah, movie still. It is a scene recreation from the very beginning of TFA. So what we see is Rey standing right next to her big brown popsicle speeder, and she's going through the net of all of her salvage that she got for the day. And it's a very, when you think about it, it's a very simple setup, but just the way that 3 Leslie was able to capture that like perfect sunset in the background.
That's the sell right there is getting that natural sun just at that great level. It's right at one of the grid points, the rule of thirds, all that jazz. And hey, a lot of people don't like her. I'm a fan of Rey. I like the lady. I liked where she was headed. I'm not going to say I liked where she ended, but I did dig the character. She definitely got the job, got the shaft.
We all have to remember that the story for these sequel characters are not written and done.
That's
just
true.
Because of just where they end in Tross is not where their story ends. And look at that for Luke Skywalker, and look at that for Han Solo, and all of these other characters. Very
good point, young Nick. He's not wrong. And he's definitely not wrong for putting at the number 3, LESIE, in this week's top 5 for this race shot. Hey, the shots like this are always going to speak to me, because I love simple stuff. Get it in camera. You know me, I don't want to fuck with the photoshops and this, that, and the other thing. So I always appreciate just a very natural captured image here.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. 3 Lessie on the Instagram. Last up is operators _of _Republic. Operators of the Republic. And it's probably one of the best like Imperial wartime shots we've ever seen.
It's great.
Period. We've seen some incredible stuff from other photographers, but what Operators of the Republic did here was just fucking next level. So what we see, it's like in the heat of battle, there are explosions in the background, people shooting, like stormtroopers firing as all of the action continues. And you have one of the stormtrooper commanders that's got one guy, he's like, this guy's on his knees, he's picking him up, got him by like the scruff of his neck. He's like, you get out there and you do your job. We're all dying out here. You're gonna go too. It's just fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it's like the captain, the lieutenant, sergeant, whatever. It's a leader of men in the heat of battle. Shit's going bad. Envision the Allies rolling up on Normandy and the just the pure hell that they were facing and what that would feel like. And you can see here with this lieutenant grabbing this scout trooper, like Nick said, like, get your ass on the front line, you motherfucker, for your brothers, for the Empire. You know, it's like, I mean, I just love I don't know where operators of the Republic got this head sculpt, because basic troopers do not come with heads. So I don't know what figure this comes from. Maybe it is from a World War II figure, because a lot of people collect those. But it just, all the emotion comes out through that head sculpt. And then, of course, the ancillary stuff, like the other troopers in the background, the explosions, it really sells kind of the direness of the moment.
Yeah.
But I just love that, you know, the intensity that is coming out of this toy shot is ridiculous.
It's beautiful. And I think you did nail the head sculpt, because Operators has a military a military toy photography account too, called 6scale_salvo, and you can see all of his 1/6 scale like World War II figurines.
This is what you call a genius Star Wars custom right here, where it's just a nice easy head swap, but it completely changes the character. And like I said, it gives a bucket head emotion, which you don't really get. I mean, you don't really get stormtroopers in the movies, in the cartoons, being heroic for their side. They always seem kind of cowardly when shit gets tough, or they are just, you know, bullet fodder. Here you're actually getting, like, these people care about each other. They care about their side of things. You know, war is always perceived differently depending on which side you're on. And, you know, he's trying to motivate his troops. Like, I know they're zeroed in on us. The mortars are coming in, but God damn it, we gotta capture that hornet's nest. It's like, trying to rally the troops. And I don't know. I love it. It's just something you don't really see in Star Wars on the Imperial side.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I mean, like, I was always like, defeat the Empire, down with the bad guys. Seeing this shot, I'm like, you know what? Get at him, motherfucker. Like, it is just one of those types of shots.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
At operators _the_republic on Instagram. Make sure to give him a follow. Absolutely fantastic job here on this shot. So yeah, that's the end of the top 5. And that's the end of the show for us, Matt. So bring us home.
Well, Nick, I have failed you. I have failed you, Anakin.
I failed.
Yeah. Well, hey, we kind of had an idea. It was the last finale of Boba Fett, and Nick and I apparently do still like talking about current Star Wars. So it happens. But don't think you're going to be getting 3-hour shows for the next couple months. We're going to be getting back to the 2:15, 2 hours or less, just because there's not going to be a ton of stuff to talk about. But that's why, join up in the Discord. We got channels for show suggestions. I am open to fans giving us stuff they want to hear us talk about. Favorite characters, favorite moment, you name it, whatever. But we'll always have content for you. It's coming. I've got May 25th kind of circled on the calendar, which I was telling Nick is like, go figure. That's the first week I'm going to be at the fucking beach. And they're dropping Kenobi. And do you really think I'm going to be able to ignore that? No. So who knows how we're going to approach the debut of Kenobi. But we'll be here for you week in and week out. That's what we do. There's always time for Star Wars time. That's why we need you to head on over to StarWarsTime.net. Why, you may ask? Well, to give us some page views, but also so you can get kind of looped in with our content, but more importantly, our platforms. This is where you can go. You can find all of our podcast homes. If you like listening to the audio only version, you can get easy peasy sublink buttons to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. So StarWarsTime.net. That's all you need to know. We're making it easy for all of you. Like me, who doesn't have a lot of brain capacity anymore or short-term memory, I like this type of stuff. Hey, you got any good Star Wars podcasts? Oh, yeah. StarWarsTime.net. Go check it out. There's always time for Star Wars time. All right? Everyone practice that elevator pitch. You can do it. It's been working. Our numbers have gone up a bit. Who knows if that's just because we're actually talking about real stuff and instead of stuff that's a year out. But let's keep building it up. All right? Matt needs that recognition. And yes, I am talking in the third person right now. I like to channel the man, Dwayne, every once in a while. Speaking of Dwayne, that guy can still cut a fucking promo. Nick, I don't know if you saw him kind of kick off the Super Bowl, but he can still turn on that wrestler vibe very, very easily and slips right back in the cut in the promo. But anyways, one day maybe we'll get The Rock to tell you that there's always time for Star Wars time, because there truly is, at least for people that dig that galaxy that is so far, far away. So if you are a fan, we appreciate you. We'll like you even more if you bring another fan. Kind of do what Devin and Justin did. Bring a friend. It's like show and tell. Be like, hey, watch this fucking train wreck every Tuesday on YouTube.com. You might like it. You might not. But you at least got to give it a try. All right, people. You know what to do. You know what to do. And besides, if they give you shit, just tell them, hey, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you. Always.
Good stuff.